Gather round, freaks. It's Thursday night, and it's time to gather around the internet and watch the program that every single person on the internet is watching. It's, hey, did you see this one? What is up, all my Republicans? It's the Alt-Right Hour. We are here with two of my... Wait. Oh, shit.
America!
Yeah! Sorry, wrong show.
I got truck nuts today. I got some pictures I want to show everyone.
That is our Saturday night program. I'm like,
I think I'm on the wrong podcast.
Welcome to Hey, did you see this one? The weekly podcast where two guys, a guest review a movie, critique a movie, react to a movie. This week we are finishing up the Close Encounters week with the fourth kind, the 2009 garbage fire of a film that for some reason we thought would be a great idea to finish the month off with. Not third Close Encounters of the Third Kind, but one kind further. We are joined this week by the indelible Jared McInnis. Welcome to the show. First time guest, first time viewer.
No.
Oh, you've seen the show. Thank you.
Your podcast, buddy. Come on now.
Thank you. I appreciate.
I wouldn't go on unless I watched it. I have to vet everything.
Yeah, you're like, I gotta make sure these guys aren't problematic.
Alt-right weirdos. I wanted to freak you out with that.
You don't want to go too far with your critiques.
So the first thing I do each and every week is during the week
read a passage from Marjorie Taylor Greene's new book.
Yeah, and the Bible. And
I was going to say, or the Bible.
Yeah,
it's basically the same book. She did a lot of lifting from the Bible.
Jared is actually writing the Bible too, and we hope that comes out soon.
Kanye tried to steal that from me.
He did. I saw that a couple people try to make the Bible too, and I was like, "That's Jared's idea." And I think
I saw your social media campaign to you have a colon and then like a blank space, and you're like, "Let the fans name it." A lot of people want to call it the Bible 2, The Revenge, which I'm like, okay.
Electric Jesus.
Bible 2, he's back.
This time he's better than ever.
That was my working title.
Yeah. And it's like him on a chair behind a desk, like in 80s, like a Gordon Gekko behind a desk. Anyway, at the top of the show,
long hair and beard.
Yeah. At the top of the show, each and every week, I do a new segment that we've been doing for a couple weeks now, where all week I've been putting little pictures of the movie poster and getting people to guess. And believe it or not, people were actually able to guess this movie. And I
couldn't even guess what it was.
And you were on the show.
And you knew what it was. Yeah.
Like, what are we doing again? The Blue Man Group movie? Somebody guessed Deep Blue Sea. Guessed.
With all that blue, that's understandable.
There's a lot of blue. So
I thought it was fire in the sky.
I didn't realize it was blue because my whole life is blue. I don't know if you guys can tell over here.
He's blue.
There's a lot of blue going on.
Abu Da. This is
reading my mind there, buddy.
He
disappeared. The blue took him.
This is fan guessing.
You blew yourself, Stephen.
Congratulations! You have successfully guessed the correct answer, which is the answer you provided. Congratulations!
Yep, that's right. We have stings for everything. Off Topic Podcast got it. Their conspiracy podcast, Doug and Kadim, on Off Topic. They just wanted me to plug their show. So go listen to the Off Topic Podcast. Fan of the show and friend of the show, Tim Covey, got it this week. Jacob Hiltz got it this week. He wanted to say, don't contact me for any reason. Friend of the show, Noel Kotev, wanted to say, when you're in the arena, remember who the real enemy is. And also listen to their podcast, Stick Taps and Stitches for Hockey, Doodads and Whatnots. It's a hockey podcast. Stu Hayward, friend of the show, who seems to get the fucking movie every single week as well, wants to promote...
I heard him last week, yeah.
Yeah,
he does reverse Google image search, I bet. He's cheating.
Yeah. He wanted to promote, again, Pint-Sized Comedy in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. It's an open mic night. for stand-ups every Tuesday at the Celtic Corner, hosted by Stuart Anthony, also known as Old Stewie. It's a wacky and wild time with veteran comics and newbies, with a special guest pro headliner every week. Gordon McDonald wanted to says, I want everybody to know they make a better gourd than a window. He's a different kind of cat. Speaking of, look at the cat on this man's shirt. I thought you were literally holding a cat. It fucking startled me.
What about me? Just doing a Godfather thing.
Lauren Duffy got it right.
Of my daughter's wedding.
She said, when I asked her what she wanted to say to the world, she said, I have no idea. But she did let me know that the movie is terrifying and it gave her nightmares. And then my cousin Ronan got it in at the last second. He's known as Reptar757. And he wanted to say,
My Cousin Ronan sounds like a movie where you
like
and your cousin have to fight in a Greco-Roman wrestling arena for your lives.
or like a samurai fight of some sort.
Yeah, I saw like
Samurai?
a road trip.
Did you say
I saw like a road
Samurai?
trip movie.
A road trip
Two
movie?
brothers who don't get along. Yeah,
And
right.
he
Maybe they got to
wanted
go to Rome.
he wanted to say at Get Clive his smooches, which means, I'll explain what that means. So he's playing the video game Final Fantasy 16 right now, and he really wants Clive to smooch the other main protagonist.
Don't we all?
Don't we all?
Don't
And
we
then
all?
finally, I have a couple of funny guesses. I like to pepper in these funny guesses because some of them are pretty hilarious. And Tanny Hiltz, Jacob Hiltz's mom, said she guessed the fogging horizontal levitator, which you'll see here. That's pretty spot on. And Eva Tanner guessed haunted PJ Pants 2, PJ Pants Revenge, which I also thought was pretty funny.
Another
That's-
Jaws fan.
I did see that movie. It's not bad.
It's
PJ Pants.
just the hardest core
I
snuff
peed my PJ pants.
little
I'm not gonna lie.
people clown necro porno you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Moving along.
But there's a plot, Jason. There's a plot.
There's always a plot. You got to watch it for the plot.
Yeah. There's a plot against you,
Yeah.
specifically, Jason.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh, God.
Whoa.
That's what happens when you scare
trumpet player over
Jason.
there?
He
that
plays a
free
little
jazz?
trombone, the back trombone. Oh, no.
That doesn't
Is
even
Michael
make
Myers here? He's not supposed to show up for a while. Okay.
Okay, I've had my fun. All right, so the real first segment of the show is the brief history, where we give our brief history of the movie, how long ago we saw it for the first time, and if you have any facts about the history or the making of the movie, this is the time for that as well.
A brief history.
I've made it a tradition to let the guest go first around these parts. So, Jared, why don't you give us your history with
My
the
history
film,
with this
The
movie?
Fourth Kind?
Okay, I saw it when it came out. And I thought it, the advertising was interesting. They tried to do the whole found footage meets real reenactment thing. And I thought that's cool. I like found footage. These actors look fine. I did not see it in theaters. My wife worked at Blockbuster at the time, and I think we rented it in a pile of other new releases. And I remember it being the worst in the pile. And I thought, what have they done? Anyway, so yeah, but I did see it the year it came out. I just didn't see it in theaters because I wasn't that excited about it.
And that's did you rewatch
That's
it?
my history of it.
Did you rewatch
No, I never
it for-
rewatched it. Never. This is you know me. I'll rewatch anything. I've seen
Except this.
Aliens 100 times, but
Yeah.
I've never rewatched this until today.
Till today,
Mm.
yeah.
Mhm.
And there were a lot of parts that I forgot about that made it worse.
Oh,
I was
wow.
like, I didn't remember that. What the
It's true though.
fuck is
The
that?
only the things
No.
you remember about this movie that are good are still kind of all right.
Right.
They're okay, but then you forget about all of this other anyway.
Yeah,
We'll
when it
talk
takes like
about
that
it. We'll
left
talk.
hook, yeah. Like what? Anyway, so yeah, there was a lot that I forgot about, but not in a good way. Like there's sometimes you watch a stinker and you're like, oh man, I gotta rewatch this. You rewatch it and you're like, oh, that scene wasn't bad. I didn't remember that sequence. What? oh, that's not bad. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
This was not that. The added stuff was was like, oh
You
my
mean
god,
the
so
things
much
you
worse.
forgot about? Yeah, the added stuff.
It's like my film mind just
Yeah.
blocked it out. It was
You're
film
like, time
trauma.
to watch the director's cut.
Yeah, it was film
It's-
trauma. Plug it. Well, the director's in half the movie.
That's
Yeah.
It's true. Well, we'll
Why
cover
is he-
that. We'll cover that more once we get into the actual body of the episode where we talk about the movie. But thank you, Jared. Let's move on to Steve. What's your history of the film The Fourth Kind? Not to be confused with Close
I'll
Encounters.
try to keep this history as brief as possible, but I do remember being kind of pretty jazzed for this movie because I loved alien stuff at the time. This was a couple of years post when like the ancient astronaut theory had like sort of bulldozed its way into sort of the mainstream mental psyche of like you could walk up to like some blue collar worker and they would be like, you ever heard of ancient astronauts, ancient aliens? And you're like, oh yeah, I have actually. And then you could have a conversation about it for a little while. It was kind of at the height of the that history television, Ancient Aliens television show that was out. So I was kind of into it, and I've always been into alien stuff, so I was pretty excited. I didn't look too far into the making of this movie at the time because I didn't really want to get spoiled, but the marketing for it very much shoved it down your throat that it is an alien movie. And I personally think if they hadn't done that, maybe the movie would have been more shocking to people not realizing that they were going into an alien movie, because they don't really fully show it to you until partway through the movie. Anyway, I saw this in theaters and I was like, oh, cool, it's a found footage movie, but they're actually doing a thing where they use real footage of an event that happened, and that's the way they advertised it. Because that was also a big thing at the time, was these documentaries where they would do dramatic reenactments paired with, like crime scene investigation footage or interviews with people in police interrogation rooms and that kind of stuff. But when I went in there, within like the second time you see the real footage, you're like, oh, unless I'm watching a snuff film, this is not real. So it's like your disillusionment is like complete. It's just like it completely pulls the rug out, and you're like, oh, okay, it's no longer a magic trick. It's just it's two movies being played at the same time. One shot to look like shit, and the other one shot to look kind of okay. It's not even shot that well either. Yeah. And I remember just like turning to my friend in the theater being like, oh, and he's like, what? I'm like, it's not real. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, that guy just shot his wife in the head. I'm like, we're not watching a movie where that happens. It's rated PG-13.
Right.
Like, come on. Yeah. And then so I was, after that point, I was like, okay,
we're all going home with trauma.
I'm just watching a movie now. I'm not watching a movie that I thought was going to actually legitimately freak me out with the mystery of real footage, because obviously this isn't real. But there also were a lot of people that saw this movie and still, after leaving the theater, were convinced that was real. And it's like, are you serious? They showed an alien in the movie. Like, you think that they would have this footage and this would be the first time we'd all be seeing it? Is in
Someone's
the
going to
movie
jail.
The Fourth Kind. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I
What
saw it in
got me
theaters. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say I saw it in theaters, and I remember leaving and just like shaking my head, but I had forgot about the shaking my head part when we brought it up to do it. I was like, yeah, let's do it. I remember watching that and it kind of freaking me out a little bit. But then after watching it again, I had the same experience of shaking my head, except I wasn't doing the long walk down a sticky popcorn covered hallway of a movie theater. I was just doing it from my couch to my fridge, being like, what the fuck did I just watch? This is so stupid.
I will say the one reenactment scene where the big guy, Tommy, is like going into his thing.
Yeah.
The actor in the real footage was better. He did
right.
better.
That's some stuff I
Right.
want to talk about.
He was also more handsome.
Yeah, well, that too. Like Tommy, isn't he like a Canadian comedy actor? That guy, anyway. But yeah, so like that's the one thing that I'll give them for that one scene. I did think that the found footage looked a little more like, okay, this is kind of real compared to.
I will also say that I did, because there was a couple of things in this that did coalesce with a lot of the the UFO specials of the era that I was already sort of freaked out about, and then they had a couple of things in this movie that sort of, played off of that or utilized it as a tool to freak me out. I wasn't really freaked out while I was watching the movie, but when I went home that night, those same fears kind of crept up, and I was like, what if I've been abducted by aliens before and I just don't remember it? Yeah.
Yep.
So
You're
like,
checking your
What's the
body
mark
for
on my
fucking-
arm? What is
yeah.
this?
I'm like,
Okay.
I have a weird pain in my arm, and it only ever happens when I'm trying to sleep.
I
So
blacked out
it
last
did do-
Saturday. That was vodka. That
Yeah,
no,
wasn't
you
that's
drank
because
a
you.
lot.
That's because you ate
Yeah.
6 fried chicken sandwiches
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
Popeyes.
I woke up in the shower
The
with my
store
clothes
down
on
the
and I was
street.
wet, and I think I pooped in my pants.
Aliens got me. Had to be the
Aliens
alien.
got me on the way home from the bar.
my
No
his-
way I shit myself. There's
my-
no way.
My history is
never.
easy. I started it on Wednesday night expecting to sit through the whole, or Tuesday night expecting to sit through the whole thing, but I was like just nodding off, and then I was like, okay, I'll just finish this tomorrow, and then I kept procrastinating finishing the movie because I was like, I gotta sit through the rest of that thing, because the first half of this movie is fucking brutal.
That's your brief history? Holy shit.
Recording in progress.
Man. Oh,
Whoopsie
thanks for
doodle.
recording the episode.
No, it's cool.
It's just live. We're just live.
Well, I have the live. It'll be on Twitch. I gotta. I have to put my alarm set again. Anyway, yeah, that's my history. I literally, but remembering it come out, I didn't. I just thought it was just some schlocky like horror movie. I didn't realize it was.
Well, you'd be correct.
It is, but I didn't realize
You nailed it.
was
We got tricked. You
presented.
You nailed it.
I didn't realize it was presented as a. I don't remember this movie being presented as a found footage thing. Because what year did Blair Witch even come out? Like 1999.
Oh,
Yeah,
but this
this
wasn't
is
playing
10
off of
years
Blair
on.
Witch. This is like
No, they were trying to do something different.
Yeah,
They were trying to do a fake pseudo mockumentary where they're like, let's present it like it's, because like there's absolutely nothing true about this movie except that people in that area have gone missing. That's the only thing that's true.
In the
Okay.
middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere,
Imagine
in a
that.
climate that human beings can't survive. Are you telling me that
There are
people
bears?
disappeared? What the
Mountain lions?
fuck?
Well, we will get to
Dude.
the body of the episode where we can talk freely about all of our hatred for this movie. But before we get to that, let's talk about the director of this movie.
All right. Quiet on set. Are we rolling? Okay, let's shoot this piece of Sound. Speed. Action!
So, the last couple of episodes, specifically Mars Attacks and Signs this month, there wasn't a whole lot to talk about because you've seen M. Night Shyamalan, you've seen his movies, you've seen Tim Burton movies. The director of this movie, though, I feel like he's doing a thing where he's trying something completely new while also trying to be M. Night Shyamalan, while also trying to, like, remake Fire in the Sky or something. That's the impression that I got. I wouldn't be surprised to learn that this guy loved Fire in the Sky and wanted to, like, turn that on its head. The director of this movie, his name is Olatunde Usunsanmi. And
Well,
he is
Jason definitely practiced that before the show.
Yeah, you got that.
I didn't. Or you-
I know. That was the joke.
Okay, thanks.
What he meant.
The thing about this man is he is the interviewer for the whole movie, for the found footage interview. And looking at his filmography, he's like a TV, like he does like 1 or 2 episodes of TV for a whole bunch of sci-fi. He did a lot of
But
Star
he's
Trek
working
Discovery.
up until this day. Like
He
he's
started in
true.
film though, from
Yeah.
what I could tell. He started in film and kind of
He
failed.
did, yeah. He
And then went to
directed
TV.
one other movie before this.
The
and
Cavern?
then The Cavern, which I have seen weirdly. I was like, oh, I have seen this movie because I binge like weird B movie, like even like the ones that are made in the early 2000s and stuff. I'm still like, yeah, shot on digital. Let me give me.
Let's go.
I want to see how bad the CGI is in it.
Right?
And you know what?
I
It's
still love
actually
watching the Asylum pictures, the knockoffs. You know what I mean?
well, yeah, but I mean, even those are great. Like I do it all the
So
time.
good.
That's why I
They're
have a
bad,
Shutter
they're good.
account on Prime, is because I love watching crap because it's fun. And I remember that movie not even being that bad, which is probably why he got this. But he started as not an intern, but like an apprentice of another director, and he made that, and then that did okay. It was a shitty movie that had a very small budget, and it made its budget back plus times whatever. And this did the same thing, which is why I think he's still working today, is because this movie had a budget of $10 million, and he was able to rake in $50 million, which is
and
pretty
it
good.
looks like
good on
too,
paper.
he did a couple movies. He did his first two movies, Cavern and Fourth Kind, and then Evidence in 2013, and then just moved to cable remakes.
Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah, Under the Dome, which is the
Dome,
Stephen King TV show, Extant, Falling Skies, Minority
Remember I lent you
Report
that book.
TV.
Do you remember
a
that?
lot of sci-fi, and I
Falling
kind of
Skies?
commend him for, because
No,
I think that
Under the Dome. Sorry.
that is a
Oh,
Stephen
maybe.
King.
Yeah.
It is.
I remember I lent Jason the book, but it's like this thick.
Yeah.
I don't remember like a month later.
That's why it's a TV show and not
no,
a
I'm not
movie.
gonna read that. He just gave it back
Yeah.
to me. Like I'm not.
You're like, I'd rather murder somebody with this than read it, because it's so
Good
big.
book.
Yeah.
But
It
also
is a good
like
book.
Gotham and Bates Motel, like things that are like spin-offs of other things, right? Like he probably
But he's
just
in his
makes-
wheelhouse though as well,
Exactly,
right? Like
yeah.
he's got his comfort zone, but it's also
Yeah.
like your passion zone as well, right? It seems like he really enjoys doing weird stuff, which I appreciate, because you can explore every genre of filmmaking within sci-fi and horror, and you can still do the stuff that you would have to do in a drama or like a romance or whatever.
I thought that Gotham was a pretty high concept show for what it was, and it
The city of
had a
Gotham,
really cool.
populated by maniacs.
Yeah, just a show about Gotham without Batman. I thought I liked that show start to finish, and I want to find out what episode
His hockey pads.
he
He was wearing
did.
hockey pads.
he was.
Is
He
it
showed
only
up to
one?
set every day with hockey pants on.
Hockey
He's like,
pants.
I am wearing hockey pants.
I'm wearing hockey pants.
Okay. Do you have anything to add about this director? Or do you want to move into the body? Of the
No, I
episode?
think you nailed it with
I mean, he's American.
and that's
He's
his
American.
strength.
He's American born, but I bet you he lives in Canada, because the majority of the shows that we list in there,
From Vancouver,
so
Toronto.
many of them are filmed in Toronto, and I'm like,
Yeah.
does he just live here? Because like that seems like that might be the case.
Let's find him and have him on the show.
Yeah, I mean,
Right?
it's possible. It's possible.
the
if he's
cavern.
Just don't let him.
around.
Just don't let him see this show.
He's been.
Oh,
he's
this
been
one.
fa-
I'll-
Like, yeah, you don't want to.
Yeah, no, just the segment where Jason tried to pronounce his name.
Yeah,
He was like,
Yeah.
oh.
yeah.
Hey, at least
I'm not even gonna try.
Some
At least
people
he
are like,
tried.
I'm not even gonna try.
Right, I'm not even gonna try. You
gotta
tried.
try.
So
You gotta
Listen,
try.
Give you props.
I commend him, because he also wrote this movie, and I'll say that the writing for this movie is not that bad. It's just there's a lot of stuff that weighs it down in terms of like editing.
there's a lot of
and
dialogue too.
The
that was
the
kinda-
high
Yeah.
concept of having the two
Wouldn't-
things happening at the same time, I think
Well, it's like he
really
made
works
two movies.
against it.
See, that's what. Yeah, I think you went too far there.
It works
I think
against
you need
it.
to pick your movie, right?
Yeah.
He had basically what he did is, and I it's kind of sad to say, but I was like, when you think about it, he shot two movies, and they're both bad.
Yeah, I got it
Right.
though. I got
Right.
it. Ola
Like-
Olatunde Osunsami.
then-
Boom.
That's
There you
it. Nailed it. But then
We'll send him
he
that version.
he then took that movie or those two movies,
Mhm.
and then made it a history movie
Yeah.
about like they've been here since Sumeria and all this shit. And it's like, okay, what else are we stuffing into this turkey? This is a
Yeah.
turducken now. You don't just like, what are we doing here?
Before
So
we
many
move on,
layers.
yeah, before we move
Too
on
many.
to the body of the episode, I should probably add that this movie spent almost $100,000 on just oopsies, I'm sorry money, where the people of Alaska were pissed, and the newspaper specifically, that
Really?
they created, the marketing team created a website that was a fake version of the
Right.
actual newspaper in Alaska that published all of these
Yes.
fake articles
Christ.
of people being abducted and all this
Yep.
stuff to try and do a viral Blair Witch style campaign. And it didn't go down as well as the Blair Witch stuff did, because that was actually a legend in the area, and they were appreciative of
Yeah.
the tourism that it brought or whatever. Whereas this was like people in Alaska who had like lost their families recently being like, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's not like you're talking
Yeah.
about a witch that got hanged 150 years ago.
Right.
You're talking about my missing dad. who
Yeah, my
went
cousin
missing
who just
in like
was
2000
hunting. Yeah.
or in like 1994.
And also Blair Witch, like people thought was real. and by 10 years later, people are just like, okay, really? You're gonna
Well, but I
make
mean,
us
that's what they were.
think
That's what
that
they were
this is real?
trying. They
No,
were
I-
trying to do that
Well,
with
no,
this.
no.
Whereas
Remember,
Blair Witch succeeded in that viral marketing campaign so well. This movie was trying to sort of do that, but it bit them in the butt so hard that they spent probably like 10% of their budget on just, or not 10%, but like a good chunk of their budget on just paying off newspapers and like making them like, I think they did a bunch of donations to acting colleges and stuff in the area to be like, listen, we're really sorry, we didn't know that it was going to impact you so negatively. It's like, oh, you didn't think that, dredging up our dad that we found frozen in the mountains and being like, maybe he was abducted by aliens.
Abducted by aliens, and that you
They
get
probed
back
him.
his memories back through hypnosis, which is real.
amazing. Well, that's for you to decide.
That's for
Yeah,
you
exactly.
to decide. The
My
fourth
name is
decision.
Mila
Times do they say that?
Jovovich, and
4
I'm
times?
an actor,
6 times?
and this movie is
That
definitely
intro is
real.
amazing. You know what I love? Just the very end when they kept adding bump, but like they kept adding
There's a
what's the word I'm
whole
looking
essay
for?
of fucking
right,
Yeah.
right. Like
Yeah,
what,
it's almost
where are
like-
they now? And they're all fake. So none of them are fucking real.
No,
so why
yeah.
are you
It's
writing?
like, and they
making
put
a true
parentheses
story?
like
They don't
alias.
put that much on there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, and he lived in the town for the next 20 years. The end,
Yeah.
right? And that's it. This is
Yeah.
like fucking chapters. I'm like reading a book here. Anyway,
And then the
The
whole
sh-
credits has like that's the part that I was wondering if that was real or not.
I
like
think those were actually real.
those might have
911
been-
calls and stuff.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, but some of them sounded like, "Hey, I'm out here and I see some lights in the sky," and I was like, "That's somebody doing a fucking voice, right?"
Yeah, that guy doesn't sound like he's from Australia or Alaska. He sounds like he's from the deep south.
Well, they were.
Well, no,
from
you could
all
see
over,
they were all
yeah.
from all over. One
Right.
said like
Different
Chicago.
eras.
That
Philadelphia.
ending reminded me of like when you're leaving a parking garage and like the speed bumps start to get further and further apart, but like you still have to like slow down and be like, God damn it.
She
That's
moved
kinda
to
how
the
it
East
felt.
Coast.
Yeah, it's like boom, boom. The sheriff, he retired 2 years later and never spoke about it again. And he also refused to be on this.
He wouldn't be in our movie.
Yeah, nobody would be in the movie. Not a
It's
single.
not real.
Before we get to the body of the episode, actually, I do have a new segment I want to try out, and I'd like to call it AI Synopsis Read. I had AI. I came up with, I let AI write a synopsis in 20 words, and then I used a song creator AI to make a song for both things. So
Jason
here
is fully embracing his robot overlords in the future.
Yeah, he's gonna be turning us in, isn't he?
yeah. So here we go. AI synopsis.
Soylent Green.
Airplot synopsis, running down the plot.
Psychological thriller. The fourth kind explores mysterious disappearances in Nome, Alaska. In the Troy noctable footage with dramatic events, reenactments, and unsettling real life events.
Goes hard.
I think we need subtitles for that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Real life events.
I like the
Got
Dolly
that.
Parton part, but I don't know if I like the second part.
Well,
How did that happen?
We could try it again next week, and I'll do the country for all.
Maybe give him another 20 words. Just
Yeah.
so
AI
they-
drunk?
That was
it
the
sounded
first-
like half a song.
It was like James Hetfield wasted in the 80s, yelling
No,
at you about a movie. Anyway,
It sounded like
James.
it's
It's like
1:30. We've done all the segments. Let's get to the body of the episode. Why don't we?
Ho, 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 ho! Everybody back up, because here comes the body of the episode.
This is the
Wow,
body of the
sweet
episode,
horn.
where each and every week we run down,
we try and make
react,
people horny with
review,
the body
try
of the
to make
episode
people
recording.
horny. We show our bodies. We all have cameras underneath our desks, and Jared is sitting on a clear chair.
Turn that camera on later.
Yep. And that's for our premium viewers over on our Patreon that we don't have set up yet. What I will say, if you're new here, typically what we do is just talk. But since this movie is very content light, I'm going to sort of run down the movie beat by beat, and we'll just sort of fill it in that way. For a movie that's more cerebral, like Signs, you can kind of talk about the movie. But this one,
Like
we
that
learned
as subtext.
Yeah, we exactly.
You mean
This
a
one
movie
tries
that
to have
thought about
subtext.
it a little bit before it being like action? Yeah.
But we try to just talk about Fire in the Sky, and that's also a very content light movie. It's basically this movie, just a little bit different and set in a different era.
Right.
And
Well, I assume your first note is going to be Casey Jones interviews Lilu Dallas Multipass.
Wait,
No?
that was Casey Jones?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Elias
where I know him
Cotes.
from. Shit.
Oh, I know him from
Cortez,
DMD Power. Whoops.
I know him from Turtles 3, where he has to hang out with those 4 feudal
OG
Japan guys.
Casey Jones, buddy.
Yeah.
And they just hang out, and the Ninja Turtles go to feudal Japan, and Casey Jones hangs out with 4 naked
Turtles
Japanese
in
men.
Time. Turtles in Time.
Yeah, that's a great film. So Mila
Could have
comes
watched
on.
that.
That's the song at the end of Turtles of Time. It's just them being like, Turtles in Time! Turtles in Time!
And Vanilla Ice comes in for 5 minutes.
Mila Jovovich, am I saying that right? Jovovich?
No, it's pronounced
Jovovich.
Lilu Dallas Multipass. Come on. Or also acceptable Resident Evil.
Chicken good.
John Resident Evil comes on the screen, and she says she will be portraying the character of Abby Winters. Is it Abby Winters? Abby.
I mean, it's made
Tyler.
up, so who gives a fuck?
Abigail Emily
Abby,
Tyler.
these names have been changed to protect the innocent.
But that's the thing. So here's what I want to hear. So we did actually establish in the first part of the show where I was going to ask you guys bluntly, just like, is anything about this real? But none of this is real. Just the fact that in Nome, Alaska, there have been disappearances.
People disappear.
Yeah, they
And
came up
also-
with an interesting concept, which they probably should have made up a fake place, but
Yeah.
because they wanted to do the virality of this place is real and these disappearances happened, that's why they had to choose some place real to try and boost that marketing campaign, which it might have worked because it did make 5 times its budget, which is pretty good.
But I want to
Tricked
point
a lot of people.
I want
Yeah.
to point something out about this movie that I noticed. If you never talk about it being aliens and make it paranormal, the fucking owl is a thing from like the Mothman Chronicles lore, right? So if this movie,
I think that's a moth. I'm joking.
There's
No, I
so
know.
much that they pulled into this movie, though. Right?
well, that's true.
Ancient alien
Yeah.
stuff, all of that. It's just like a hodgepodge of what else can we add for stakes.
So immediately off the bat, though, we just get this actual actors playing themselves, being like, to help out the victims of this horrible alien abduction crisis. We're going to reenact. We're going to reenact the footage of an interview and 911 calls and a tape recorder that we found. Please enjoy. And then what we get, and I want to say this outright, we basically get one of those reenactment shows from the History Channel, and the acting included as the reenactment.
Unsolved mysteries.
Exactly. That's what it felt like.
Did these people
Especially the
disappear
sheriff.
once?
The sheriff acts
It was
like
a quiet town. And
Are
exactly.
there aliens that came
left.
down from space?
But then the sheriff is
them.
like, I used to be a good cop, but now I'm above
oh no,
the
you have to
law."
whistle. You have to.
Will
like,
Patton.
excuse me, I'm not sure if would these murders have happened if you hadn't hypnotized these.
What are you doing, your goddamn hypnosis? And all these
Hypnosis
people.
is not exactly
It's so
legal, is
intense.
it?
Okay, so this is what I wanted to mention right now before I forget. Those two actors should not be in the same room together. Elias Cotes and Will Patton are too much fire. There's too much intensity for those two over actors to be chewing up the fucking scenery in one scene.
Right.
It's like, okay, even Cotes playing like the calm down, like. Plus, now people are going to be super confused because everyone thinks they're the same guy, right? Every time you see Will
That's
Patton,
true.
like,
yeah, a little
that-
bit. Yeah.
because they always do the same kind of roles.
I mean,
and
I
shit.
know the difference, but I know that there will be people that are be like they're both
Right?
balding men who are intense. Yeah.
and they do
Well,
the
that's-
same weird, intense role.
That
Yeah.
goes
Someone's
for
going to
like
see
all
that
of
and
the
break their brain. They'd be like, wait, that's two different people.
That goes too for all of like the wives in this movie, and also the receptionist for Mila Jovovich's character. I kept getting them confused, and I'm usually pretty good at names in movies. Like I write that shit down.
The reason I didn't get the receptionist confused for anybody is she kept every line she said had something to do with being a receptionist. It's like,
I'm a receptionist, and you're
I'll get your coffee.
meeting.
No, she's like, I was just waiting out there by the receptionist desk where I work, and I found this thing there that someone left for you, my boss. And I was like, oh, good Lord. And she also...
I was trying to transcribe this, but I don't know what it says. Like, of course you don't. It's a fucking demon voice growling on a tape recorder. Why would you?
One voice is yours and one voice isn't yours.
Devil.
Yeah.
What? No, she didn't say that. Did she? Did anyone blame the devil in this? Did we go to?
No, they went
down
right to
that
aliens.
path?
Nobody
Right to
ever
aliens?
talked
Later-
about it. Well, in Alaska, they
No, it was
don't
like you
believe
need
in
an
hell up there.
exorcism first. Then we'll think it's aliens. If
Well,
that
later in
doesn't-
my notes, I do sort of go down that road a little bit because they.
Don't go down that road.
With the you don't want to go down that road. The
no
Sumerian
way, boy, down there.
stuff. They start talking about, especially when the alien actually says that he's above God, and then
The
I
law.
just kind of
He's
like
God, yeah.
and then it's like
I'm the devil.
they allude a little bit to him. Maybe he's Satan, and then I was like, are they trying to do a signs thing here? Where
Well, the whole
like
thing is like,
And the gaps in the translation. Why?
the implication
Yeah.
is that like
Just fill it in. You can guess what he's saying.
this is like a Ridley Scott
gaps.
thing where the implication is that like God and the devil don't exist, but aliens do. And that is
Aliens
the
made
God.
it.
And, yeah,
Well,
that's what it is.
When they get the professor guy from Africa there first, and he's explaining, Anu and Samaria and all.
Yeah,
that
he's
shit.
like a language
And he
professor
shows the
who's like
this
an
is a
expert in all,
rocket. I'm like, that's
ancient
not a
language.
rocket. That's
He's
a
a-
dildo.
he's
But if you
also
think
a
it's
self-
rocket, fine.
he's also a self-insert in a movie that the director is literally in. Which I
Right.
thought
I don't
was
think
pretty
he is
funny.
because the director is not an expert of ancient Sumerian
The
language.
director's not him. Did you think that he was the director?
No,
too?
I didn't. I
Oh.
didn't think that. It felt like that he was a reflection of the interviewer, who is the director.
Okay, I see. I see what you're saying. I think he's
because they had
supposed to be the
similar
guy who knows,
names.
right?
Yeah. Well, he's like
But
the
it was
X
just so out
Files
of
guy.
left field. Like, what are we inserting Sumerian alien lore?
It's
You
an
know, like,
ancient
what?
language that hasn't been spoken since like 4,000 years before ancient
But-
Egypt or whatever. But like at the same time, whenever I hear this shit in movies, like in The Exorcist and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, language changes like every 10 years in
We
real
have
life.
the Rosetta Stone. We know
Yeah,
how to
but, like-
translate Sumerian.
But also like these aliens would be, they'd be having their version of Gen Z and they'd be making up slang and stuff, and that would be the new
Right.
thing. Like language
that was the gaps.
changes.
That was the
Even if you go
gaps.
back 200 years in the development of language for any language, it's changed so drastically that I cannot imagine even an alien language where they're like strict and like birth, like 14 babies just off their skin or whatever. They would still like those babies would be like, what's your drip like today? Like you got Riz or some
You
shit.
got
Like,
Riz?
those
Yee.
aliens would make stuff up, and we
You got any spice? Wait, that's George
they'd,
Lucas.
they'd start calling each
Just
other
sue them.
And
glizzies
Dune.
or whatever.
Bleep blop.
So I can't imagine that ancient Sumerian and what an alien would speak now would be the same. It would be it would be like you wouldn't be able to do it. You wouldn't even be
Well,
able to translate
it's
it.
the
They
example
need a
of
new
if-
Rosetta Stone.
If we went back 3, 4, probably 400 or 500 years
Mhm.
when they spoke Old English,
Yeah.
where F's look like S's and shit like that, we wouldn't know what the fuck they were saying.
Even 100
True.
years.
Because
you'd
it
be
sounds
confused.
like German because it's Germanic, right? It's like it's almost
Yeah. Even if you go back to like the time of the Titanic, people would be talking and you'd be like, it'd be
Yeah,
like
there'd be some
talking to like
phrasing in it.
it'd be like talking to a 12-year-old who's speaking in only like TikTok language where you're like, what the fuck? Like I kind of get what they're saying, but I really don't.
With a mid-Atlantic accent, so they're like, put me in a taki this Sunday, everybody.
Isn't here now, see? Fight
We gotta go upstairs. We're gonna get ourselves some pig snouts and frogs.
Champagne!
eyes. Yeah, and champagne for breakfast.
And champagne for every meal, because that's what we drink in sunny 1899.
Captain, are you drunk yet? No. Well, get on board.
You're not trying hard enough,
Oh,
sir.
we're on the Titanic.
So the premise of this film, we've said it a couple times, but it's in my notes now, and essentially we're getting the found footage, gigantic quote unquote, of this woman telling the story, and on the other side of the screen it's the reenactment. And to make it a little bit extra spooky, the little line in the center changes, and I thought
It moves. Yeah.
that was gonna be smart, and it was gonna reveal something at the end, not unlike an M. Night Shyamalan little twisty
Like an
kind of
X
thing.
marks the spot. It's like
No, just like it was gonna start. Like the line in the middle was gonna start being more fucked up, implying.
I mean,
that now
there
the
were some
movie is
interesting
being affected by the movie we were watching. That's too cerebral for this
Oh,
thing.
what you were saying.
Oh, you thought the movies
Yeah.
were gonna cross over or something into
It was
sort
like-
of
That's a
like-
good
okay.
idea, Jason.
Right? Like the
That's a
nightmare
good idea.
of
That would have been
the
a
side of the
third,
movie.
a third movie is birthed
Starts
out
affecting-
into
yeah,
two
right.
movies.
Like
There
that
are like
game.
four
movie
movies
all
in
of a sudden
here.
happened. Yeah.
It's at the end. It turns into a fucking murder mystery anyway, or suicide.
We
thing.
should get Ari
They actually-
Aster to remake this, and then that's maybe what would happen. It's like a third movie would be
Ari
birthed
Aster
from the
making this
two.
movie would fucking kill somebody.
It'd be a great movie. It'd be a great
And-
movie. I wouldn't get out from under my bed if he had made this.
There's that game for the GameCube back in the day called Eternal Darkness, where it starts fucking with you. And I
Yeah.
thought they were trying to imply that was going to start happening,
Like Doki Doki Book Club.
or
Your
Doki
screen
Doki
goes all fucked up.
literary club, where they all
Literature
start
club,
turning
yeah.
into demons. And
They could
shit.
do that in
They'll
like a
hang themselves
40x experience, like speakers in your chair that start hooting in your ear or whatever, like an owl, like ooh, or like the drill noise or some shit. But it only happens to a couple people in the theater,
You
not
only
everybody.
Yeah, that would
4D
be fucking
theaters.
cool.
You get sprayed with water.
Yeah,
Get sprayed
raining.
with fucking
Oh,
blood.
God.
a ramekin of whatever we said earlier. I can't remember what we said. Oh god, yeah, it was glue.
Anyway,
glue.
Mila Jovovich's character is some sort of psychologist where she uses hypnotism to fix people's brains, and they don't really go too far back into why she does that. But she has a distinct memory of her husband getting murdered with a knife, and that we do get a little bit of gore for that, in that he gets stabbed repeatedly right in front of her, and like the blood wells up. But then like it's revealed at the end of the movie. And when you get to the end of the movie and it turns out that it was a suicide, or maybe it was or maybe it wasn't, depending on how you view this movie, by the end of it, you start to realize that not only did this movie not happen in real life, but this movie didn't happen in the movie. She's just
No, that was
crazy.
the Rock at the Sandcastle. That was the
Yeah.
Rock at the Sandcastle for me. When I watched it, I was like, because that was one thing that I forgot too, that he killed himself. And I was like, why?
Me too.
Like, why the fuck
I
did
thought-
he? What the fuck is the point of this? You just.
I thought the
like-
reveal was going to be
Was he
that
on
she
to
was,
something? And
I thought the reveal was going to be that she was like lobotomized or something, and that's why she like talked all weird. And I was like, yeah, they cut out a piece of her brain or something, right?
Yeah.
no, the reveal was that she was in a wheelchair the whole time.
Yeah, but like that's not even a reveal because you're
She's
like,
in a
yeah,
coma.
her head like turned around or whatever when she was doing her.
Her jaw
Crazy.
got distended like
The
too
entire story was in the mind of an autistic alien boy.
far. Who in
Whoa.
a snow globe.
And that alien was me.
So anyway, not to put the cart before the horse or get too far into it,
keep
but
going,
You went all the way to the end.
yeah, I did
Like the
pretty much
very
cover
last
the whole
shot
movie.
of the
We
movie is-
jumped all back.
Yeah,
Keep going.
I'm just trying to look at the layout of the show to see if there's anything I want to, because we have our theories, and I don't know if I think this movie's too stupid to have a lot of theories.
Yeah, it's like if you had a theory, it would be like maybe the movie was better than we thought. Like hot take.
That's
Let's
a
watch
bong.
it again.
That's a bong thought from your dream journal if I've ever heard.
Yeah.
heard of
Maybe this
one.
movie was better. than I thought. Amazing.
Anyway, one of
I
the
don't
other her hypnotist friend is Abel Campos, played by Casey Jones, which I've learned, which is incredible. I'm going, where do I know this fucking guy from? He's aged 30 years since the last
It's
time
crazy
we saw
that
him.
you knew that and I didn't, because I don't watch that movie all that often. I thought you watched it every afternoon when you got home from school.
Ninja Turtles 3? Well, yeah, I did. Ninja Turtles 1, yes, I owned him, and 2, I owned him.
Well, he's in that one, you know.
I know he's in.
That's
all
the
of them.
only one he's in, isn't it?
No, he's in all of them.
Is
he's
he?
in
I
one.
don't know.
One in he returns. He's in 1 as like the first boss,
I know that, yeah.
and then he's in 3 because he's still at home with the Japanese guys that switch with the turtles.
And he's like, whoa, time travel.
Hey, you fucking guys over here. Pizza.
Yeah. You guys didn't give me enough money for this. Zah. Like, shut up, Casey Jones, you sick weirdo. Don't you have any human friends?
Why are you hanging out with mutant animals in a sewer?
Well, he's only in the movies so a human can bang April O'Neil. Because we can't have, Donatello.
Yeah, the first one.
dicking down
the
on
ones after that. There's no like romance going on.
First
It's
of all, it
just
wouldn't have
turtle
been
action.
Donatello, it would have been Raphael.
Would've
But
been-
that's my own
That's it.
Raph?
my own ship. So I'm gonna keep that to myself.
Yeah.
There you go. There's your theory.
Your mouth gives you trouble, Miss O'Neill.
Yeah. So
Where do you lay your eggs?
we get it like we've done in this episode of the show. We do get a fast forward to the end. Abel is hypnotizing. What is her fucking name? I wrote it down so many times. Abby. And she just like, I remember making love right before he got stabbed to death. We never really find out like what actually happened. We just get flashes of him getting stabbed, her remembering it vividly, and then pictures of him with bullets in his head, and then a picture of a gun.
I mean, we didn't need to see him shooting himself in the head.
I know, but like,
but I would have liked to have seen it
instead of a
Why
picture.
did he do it?
A picture of a gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, this is a
Well, he
picture of your
explains it too.
husband's
He goes,
blown out brains, and this is a picture of a gun.
Yeah.
You're like,
And he used this pistol to do this to his head.
and she's got
Like,
the
what the
neck
fuck?
brace on, and she's like,
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, I forgot about that shit, didn't I?
Then she looks over at Casey Jones, and he's just like, I got nothing for you.
like,
This is
listen, I
fucking
told you you weren't
crazy."
gonna like the imagery that he was gonna present to you, but it had to be
Yeah.
done.
And this
Dun, 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 dun.
and this part.
Going back to New York.
Yeah.
What is up, Noel, in the chat? Thank you for joining us. Noel is here and will provide excellent chat commentary that I will get back to as they post. What I wanted to bring up here, though, is there's a couple jump scares in this movie that exist.
You guys just want to talk about Ninja Turtles instead?
I
of
do.
this
Do you
movie?
want to talk about the Ninja Turtles original trilogy instead of this fucking garbage?
The
tire
masks,
fire?
those
Listen, we should
animatronic
probably-
lips were amazing at the time.
That's
Oh,
true.
gonna
I
lie.
think by today's standards, they're still pretty amazing.
The
Although
animatronic
in the-
lips in this movie not as good, but we
Not
should
as good.
still talk
Human
about them.
lips.
Like,
Right,
you know what
so-
this movie was really lacking in? Mutant animals.
Or
And
any
Maybe that owl
monsters.
could have been a
Martial
mutant. We
arts.
don't know.
I
We
guess
don't
so.
know for sure.
Did we
Pictures of
see any
owls.
spin kicks or anything?
No.
Did he have a preferred weapon?
The thing, though, that I do like is
Sorry.
that the idea of a shared dream is very cool, and
Yeah,
so is the
yeah.
idea of doing a mockumentary or a pseudo documentary where they take found footage and intermingle it with a very cinematic representation of that stuff. But the only difference between the cinematic representation and the found footage representation is that one is grainy and the other isn't. It's not like they were doing any kind of crazy camera work in the non
Right, like the room
found
in
footage
the...
stuff.
Except when they would actually
interview.
show something and then the screen would just go all fuzzy. Like the screen would just go
Well,
like... you put a
I'm saying
magnet.
that stuff that's fine, but even the cinematic stuff is like 90% of it is handheld and looks more like a handheld camera that you would see in the other version than the
yeah.
part that's supposed to be it
There's a lot
should
of
be all
shaky
locked
cam.
off. It should be dolly shots. There's like 3 dolly shots in the entire thing, and it's all shaky cam, and it looks exactly the same. Except they
I
have more
hate it
angles.
when the camera was on her and it was trying to keep the handy cam camera in the shot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was like going around the camcorder. I was like, just
Like, we know, we
I
get
know
it.
what's going on.
Yeah,
Just
we
show
understand
it.
that someone else is filming this right now.
You're
Yeah, we don't
blocking
need
the
to see
shot
it.
now with a shitty fucking 80s camcorder.
And they also
Get it
keep
outta here.
talking about it. We need to film this for.
Yeah. Can we film this?
Yeah, we have to make sure
That
this
was
is
the other
recorded
thing.
for
To
study.
go along with what you just said, when she does realize that they're all having the same dream,
Mhm.
way to freak the shit out of your patient and tell him.
Right. I
"Tell
wrote that
me."
down too.
She's like,
Yeah.
oh
what the
yeah,
hell?
you
That seems like
crazy.
some.
And
That
he's
seems
like,
like a breach
What's
of.
crazy? He's like, you're not the first person to tell me this.
Yeah.
And he's like,
Like, in
what?
fact, this week alone, I've had 3 other patients tell me about a
Right,
strange
so you're
owl
telling him-
that appeared
But
in their
then
dreams.
later on, there was another moment later on when she's talking to somebody, and they ask her what happened to so and so. Oh yeah, that's the other patient,
Yeah.
the cagey guy who like breaks
You
his own
have
back.
to
or
tell
whatever at
me.
the end.
Yeah.
But he's like, "What happened to Tommy?" And she's like,
like,
"I can't talk about patients."
I can't.
You just did that with Tommy.
But did
Yeah.
you happen to watch the news last night?
Yeah.
The murder
He
suicide
blew
that
his
happened
brains out
in this
after
town of
killing his wife and
7,000
children.
people.
Yeah. Did you happen
Yeah.
to see what happened after I hypnotized him?
Yeah.
Sure, you want to go again?
Sure you want to go?
He's like,
And
we need to
And
be
they're both like,
hypnotized
"Yes, we should
right
do
now.
this."
Yeah. Right now.
I think we'll take the risk. Murder,
But
suicide,
it has to be
whatever.
very delicate, so we'll just have this other hypnotist in the room. That'll fix everything.
Yeah. He's like,
totally
you
won't be a
remember
bad
I'm here.
idea.
Yeah, it's great. Also, when he barfs,
Maybe he was hypnotizing
Terrible.
everyone.
oh,
Maybe it was
he's
like a
the
layer.
alien.
There's like
Yeah.
layers of hypnotism going on.
Well, this is the other thing is that
That's
she's
the
crazy,
plot.
right? Everybody knows that her husband committed suicide,
Yeah.
and she just refuses to admit it. So
Find the
she's-
killer.
She's created an alternate reality in her
OJ.
mind, but yet she's still somehow allowed to be a licensed psychiatrist who's bringing patients in. So I thought maybe, and this maybe would have been a smarter thing to tell to us if this is the case, is that she had been disbarred and lost her license, and now she's sort of like a newspaper palm reader style psychiatrist where she's like,
Ask
I'm
Laura.
not technically licensed, but you can still come to me, but you have to legally I have to tell you that I'm not licensed
Dr.
anymore.
Laura.
Yeah. And because she's crazy, like she's lost her fucking mind, and she believes that her husband was kidnapped by aliens or stabbed by a murderer, and the police are like, no, he shot himself in the head, we know what happened. And she's like,
Punks his own
no,
ticket.
you never figured it
Sorry.
out.
Yeah, but this is the point in the movie where it's revealed that she's a pilot. She can fly a plane, and she fucking commutes by plane to Nome, Alaska, like every day or weekly or something. That's the part. That,
I think that was her coming back
flying the plane?
from like a thing she was doing. I think she lives there.
Yeah, there's a
Is she
whole
flying the
scene
plane?
where she flies the plane in, and she looks like it looks like.
How
a
did I not
different
realize
movie.
she was flying? I thought that
It shows her she's
That's-
flying the plane, and
wow.
She does a barrel roll.
but the thing that was
Takes
really
out two.
so let me
Takes
say
out
this.
two Germans.
Let me say this about Mila Jovovich. This is the first time I've seen her in a movie where they tried to make her look like a normal person. Especially after being in like the Resident Evil movies, especially after being in Fifth Element. She's always got all this makeup on.
Yeah.
She's always a character.
She's wearing more clothes than rubber orange belts
Exactly.
or a
Now,
full leather costume. Yeah.
She looked. They tried to make
Less
her look
guns.
like a
A
normal.
lot less guns.
A lot
Less
less
guns,
guns. They tried to make her look like a normal ass person, but she's literally a supermodel. So she doesn't fit as the like reenactment actor for the actor they chose to be the original Dr. Tyler. They didn't tone that down enough. So the whole time I'm just distracted by how extremely symmetrical her face is, and how they were just trying to like trick us into thinking that this is possible when everybody else in the movie looks normal. They all look like normal actors.
Except for who she was playing. The other Abby actor looks like an alien.
Looks,
But
yeah.
they
and
also-
Her eyes
crazy
are like
eyes.
sunken in, and she's like got the crazy look.
Oh,
was
the handycam version.
She's
it's
a
like-
lizard person.
She looks like she's painted with like house paint, like
Yeah.
the makeup they use. I'm like, this doesn't seem
Yeah.
right. But also,
Creepy.
the rest of the movie is populated with people that you know, and it's not
Yeah.
like people that you know after watching this. It's all people that you know before this. So it's not like every single other actor in this movie isn't also a person that is distracting to it. So like, I've seen enough Mila Jovovich and Casey Jones and the guy from Gone in 60 Seconds, and like all these character actors are just populating this entire movie.
But what
But
I
it wasn't
wanted to
distracting unless you consider all those people not distracting as well, which they are, because
What I
none of these
wanted to-
people have the right accent. It's like fucking
Accent's
Casey
relevant.
Jones has a New York accent. The sheriff has like I'm gonna figure out the mystery that's happening up here in Alaska, and like
been
that's not
down
an
in
Alaskan
Missouri
accent.
most
Like
of my
everybody
life.
is
Yeah.
out of place. Like the whole
I mostly
cast.
just wanted to get to the point that when she's flying the plane for a brief moment, I was like, is this a fucking Tomb Raider movie now? Just for this brief moment of her flying
yeah,
a
she
plane
and then she
randomly?
like she free
Umbrella
dives down
Corporation.
to
Yeah, she's
she
gonna
freed-
drop into their.
she free dives down to like an old pirate vessel that sunk
Yeah.
in the Northern Sea, and
Has
she
to
gets
fight a
an
tiger.
amulet, and she's like, "This has to do with the aliens, I think."
and does a bunch of backflips in her fucking mansion, like in that first.
And she
Angelina
finds out the
Jolie
whole
movie.
town has been turned into zombies.
Yeah, and has to fight them
Yeah.
all, and then she puts on an orange wig.
And she can speak fluent ancient Sumerian, and she fights the ancient Sumerians as they come down at the end.
That's the thing I found funny too, like the Sumerian thing. Like you're just why? You're just adding more to you already got a story. Work out. Sorry, you already got 2 stories. Work out those 2 stories. You got an alien mystery movie, My Husband's Dead, and you got a found footage thing going on with that, and then you've got no. Guess what? He's not dead. It was suicide. Twist. But then you shoved in here. But the ancient aliens, they came and they created all the people on Earth, and we're actually their experiments, and they're allowed to come back and do whatever they want with us. Because that was very much the only kind of subtext that came out of him explaining, like, you can go into any university and find this. Remember, he's like, you can go to any university.
But it's not respected in any university or museum. You know, it's just a thing.
It's a theory.
It's like some bullshit. And like that is what I meant to say earlier, which is like it's ancient astronaut theory, which is like essentially like a flat earther.
Oh, what's his name? The guy with the hair, you know?
Yeah, the magician. Yeah,
alien.
Yes.
I don't know, therefore aliens.
That must be aliens.
Another thing that
humans couldn't have done that
is the name of the movie is so powerful. You know, like the fourth kind, and it's, you know, the illusion is it's
it feels like an unofficial sequel to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, one of the best movies ever.
The fourth kind is when they take you, and the fifth kind is when they.
Yeah, but I thought I was right when Steve, when you first said, when you're listing off a few names, you said the fourth kind. I was like, I remember that movie. It's probably going to be dope as hell. It's probably going to be like Signs, and then it was like,
it's not.
It was like you're watching a cable TV special. Like it felt like
it did feel like that. Yeah.
Bill Patton, I just can't get. He's off the leash the whole fucking movie. The director did not tell him to calm down once. The director was not. Can you rein that in a little bit? Can you just calm that down a little bit?
I feel like the director was probably scared of him because he's.
That's what I mean. He was probably just like, "Holy fuck! You just kicked up this lady's living room. You know, you're playing a sheriff.
Yeah, that's the sheriff, right? And he
maybe don't beat the shit out of her house.
Yeah, that made me just.
You tell me where she is.
Where is she?
Whoa, dude, bring it down. Just gonna tell me where she's hiding.
But also, like, you know, that character in a better movie, it would be a little bit. They'd spend a little bit more time with him, and we would
characterization. Yeah,
he seems insane, but the whole thing is that she's insane, and he thinks she's insane, which the movie does give you. But you know, they treat it like
there's no nuance to the character.
They treat it like the twist at the end, where he reveals that the husband died via, you know, his own hand, is meant to be like this crazy twist. But like the whole movie, he's like, we did close the case. The case is closed. We closed it years ago. And she's like, no, you didn't. And he's like, yes, we did. We did. And you know we did. And you're like, okay, so something is going on here that we're not being told. So obviously, like for a moment, I was like, did she kill him? And they know she killed him? And like,
but it was a mental break.
Or so like maybe he attacked her or something, and it was proven that he was like trying to kill her, and she killed him first.
But and then, man, that would have been interesting.
Oh yeah, and this movie not interesting.
Well, there's a plot line that is sort of created by when she opens the book and finds the number of the guy who knows ancient Sumerian, where you were like, did her husband know some shit? And then later in the movie when it's revealed that he killed himself, I'm going, oh, did he know some shit? And that's why he had to get out.
The implication is that he realized he was also being abducted by aliens, and that's why he killed himself, because he had all the memory, just like everybody else who fucking dies or wants to die when they figure it out, right?
Because like the daughter is just like,
maybe we're being too obtuse to not just, you know,
just accept.
Do we need that explained to us?
We don't really need it explained to us.
Not really.
And it
depends on whose side you're on. If you think she's crazy, then he just killed himself for whatever reason. But if you think all the alien stuff is real, then Jason's theory killed himself.
But also the movie posits that it is real. Like, it's like, if this was a little bit more obscure and actually based in fact, then we would have more room to wiggle around with speculation. But we don't, because it's a made up thing. So it's not like we're trying to be like, but they have the evidence of it's like, no.
Fire in the Sky did it so much better. And it's like, it's a better made movie for this sort of like, did it happen? The thing that's great about Fire in the Sky is the guy from Fire in the Sky that got abducted is still alive and still goes on podcasts
and telling the tale to this
and
day.
He was on Joe Rogan like a few years ago.
Wasn't that a Spielberg produced movie? I don't know if he directed it, but I think he produced it.
I'm sure it was. Yeah, a lot of the people involved were his sort of like wheelhouse of confidants and workers. So, it also looked better. The soundtrack was better. It was better edited. Like it had good pacing and like
we get to go on a ship, see
convoluted.
aliens. We don't see a single alien in this fucking movie, and there was no payoff for the aliens, which is crazy. In 2009, they couldn't just show us a fucking monster for even a second.
Yeah, but we get to see one
even
of the
a shitty animated something. You know what I mean?
We get to see one of the first like 10 versions of that big jaw opening thing that we saw for like a decade afterwards constantly. And we're like, oh god, my mouth is opening bigger than it should. Scary.
I hate when vampire movies do that. They turn around like and their mouth gets like fucking huge.
It's all based off Bat Boy from the National Enquirer. It's all Bat Boy.
Yeah,
Bat Boy created it.
Yeah, you're right.
I will say that like the found footage elements of this movie, when they do have those moments, they're shot adequately. But I would say that the other ones where they're just interviewing people are shot too well and too clearly. Like everybody who set up the shot was an actual cameraman who knew how to light stuff and like but then they're like, now we have to make it look shitty, where it's like, no, it should just look shittier. Like it should look like somebody didn't know how to set up a camera and like has like a bad light coming from the wrong angle.
Abby Tyler looked too good in the documented.
Well, the documentary part, that's fine because that's supposed to be an actual like it's a university production, so you would have the university film team come in and set those cameras up so they would know what they're doing. But like I'm talking about when they're in like an office of a therapist who just has a camera, who wouldn't really know how to like how do I backlight
out in the corner?
Yeah, exactly. Like do I need to use natural light or do I just have the overhead light on? Like they would have shot it much more poorly, and they should have shot it poorly, but they didn't. And that was kind of again one of those telltale things. When I was younger, I'm like, this seems too well shot, even though they did a good job of populating the fake footage or the fake found footage with actors that you'd never seen before, and then doing an adequate job of juxtaposing that with people you do know, so you're like, oh, these must be the real people. And then like I said before, minutes in, they have an execution sequence where you're like, oh, okay, this is clearly not real.
What is happening?
Yeah.
Jared, you mentioned some dead ends. Another dead end that I thought was just completely unnecessary and just sort of movie spectacle was literally Abby goes to see a little girl. It's not really explained until she's like, Mommy, as almost a reveal. And then she's blind because when her dad died, she went blind. Which is how common that is, and then
it's a real thing now. I looked it up.
Is it? Okay. Yeah. Well, then some dork walks by and calls her a faker, or she talks about a kid in class calling her a faker, and it was my first thought. I was like, she's faking.
She's just like looking, and you like throw a ball at her, and she's like,
"Fucking kid's faking."
She like catches it, and you're like, "Fucking either she's Daredevil or she's faking."
Did you see
also
that TikTok?
Impressive catch for a child?
So there's a conspiracy theory that Stevie Wonder isn't actually blind, and there's also a theory that's not really a conspiracy theory that he's not fully blind and he's legally blind, so he can see some stuff. So when people go to like shake his hand, he's visibly trying not to like reach out and shake their hand. And there's this TikTok of this guy who goes for a high five, and Stevie Wonder he looks at it and then looks past it, almost like he like kind of forgot. But the funny part is the guy visibly remembers that he's blind and goes, ugh. So that's, I just thought of that thinking about whipping a dodgeball at Emily's head, and she just catches it like a Terminator. That'd be great.
Or she is blind and it whacks her in the face.
And then it's like a scary movie. It's like something in a scary movie.
I just
Right.
kept thinking of the meme where the person's like, "I'm legally blind."
Well, what's his name?
I'm legally
The
blind.
guy that played the Highlander,
Oh,
Duncan MacLeod from the Clan MacLeod. He's legally blind.
MacLeod.
A lot of
Raiden
the sword fight
from Mortal
scenes had to be-
Kombat.
Yeah,
Christopher
yeah,
Lambert.
Yeah,
Christopher
Chris
Lambert.
Lambert.
Yeah, Lambert.
I can remember. Yeah, a
I
lot
know
of
I
his fight
have
scenes
got
have to
a
be
weird
well
accent.
choreographed.
That's
He seems like he would have been in this movie, right? Like,
yeah. He's the alien. He's the.
I mean,
the
hey,
fucking-
if
but
they-
also he is in Mortal Kombat.
but
which
no,
is dir-
because that's the thing about this movie. The
is that it
actors
wasn't
are quality.
directed by Paul W.S. Anderson.
Well, that too. But the actors are kind of quality actors. You know what I mean? They're not B-listers
Well,
necessarily.
that's what I mean by the Hollywood end of it is
Yeah.
populated by people you know, right? That's where the
Mhm.
legitimacy comes in.
Yeah.
And then you watch it and you're like, they're
It's like
they're
Batman and
giving it
Robin.
all.
You know?
Right? Yeah.
Great director, full of great stars. Oh my God, this is gonna be amazing. And then
Yeah, but I'd rather watch Batman and Robin any day
Oh,
of the
yeah,
fucking
I mean-
week than this ever
Yeah.
again.
I watched Batman and Robin twice.
I would invite all you guys over and say cool party, and we'd sit down,
Batman and Robin.
and then we'd say time to kick some ice, and we watch
will
it
say-
together.
Our
Nice to meet you.
the three of our dynamic, like the three of us get along as people. I think the three of us watching this movie in the same room would have been fucking hilarious. And me and Steve have watched movies with other guest hosts or guests before, and it enhances bad movies and almost makes us come into our review with a more shining review. You know what I mean? So we might have come into this being like, this was a piece of shit, but it sure was fun to rip apart in person.
I should say, me and Cass started watching this before we came to the kick show, the Super Kick show on last week, and both of us just kept commenting on the interior decorating of everybody's space.
Speaking of, when they show when they show her office for the first time, did you guys notice it's just kind of misty in there, kind of smoky in the background?
Smoky.
Like you know how light cuts through dust.
Yeah.
In real life, in this, light was cutting through like a smoke machine, like what's happening on your screen right now.
I just
But
turned on my smoke machine.
in the background.
Okay.
So I was
Have a
like,
smoke machine.
that was a confusing. Everybody, turn your smoke
Myself.
machines on.
Yeah, I thought we were all gonna do it at the same time.
I am the smoke machine. Just a minute.
Oh no, that's your wrestling.
They
pseudonym.
call me the smoke machine, brother. Yeah, and then okay, so at this point in the plot, they're having dinner with the kids. The boy is the snotty little
God,
dick bag.
worst actor in
with
the
the
movie.
worst
And I know
face.
he's a child actor, but like, fuck off. I wanted to like just punt this kid through any large window.
Talk about one-dimensional characters, dude.
I'm a boy and I am upset with my mom. The first
No,
thing,
that's the director. That's what the director probably said to him.
yeah, he's like,
You're
you're a
the
boy
stakes.
and you're upset.
You're the
with your
tension
mom."
in the scene.
He's
You're
like, have
the-
you seen Hereditary? Do that, but way worse. Obviously, Hereditary came out years later, but that sequence where they're trying to have like a tense dinner, all I could think about was Hereditary and how that's probably
It's
the
so much
reason
better.
that movie is loved. But there are people who have memorized that, not monologue, but that back and
I've seen it.
forth between the two characters and performed it, and it's an amazing sequence. And this is just annoying because that exists. If that
Well, and
didn't
plus-
exist, maybe I'd feel differently. But because that exists, I was like, ugh, what is this bullshit?
But in Hereditary,
Not in front of
you've
your
got a
sister.
real interaction. Exactly. You've got an
Yeah.
interaction between a mother and her kid.
It felt
In this, you have an
so-
interaction between what? Not. I'll explain to you later, honey. You need to help me with your sister. Take her
Yeah.
up to.
They didn't.
like-
None of them felt like real people. They didn't even feel
No,
like fake.
They didn't
real
feel like
parents.
family. They didn't feel
Yeah.
related. She felt like a caretaker for these two kids that she was babysitting. Or something.
You know when you
She
go to
talked
like
them.
someone's house when you're a kid and their parent is trying to discipline them, and like you can tell when they're being fake because they don't want to like be rude in front of you, the guest child.
My
It
kids
felt
get
like
beaten when I go home.
it felt like that, except there was none of that behind it. Where like the
Yeah.
parent is holding back. It was like there's just actually nothing there. It's like
She's not really holding back. She's
they've just been given the
a bad
lines and they're
parent?
reading it. Yeah, it just felt like people reading lines, and I was like, this is a scene that could be a commercial for like tissue boxes.
And what was
Only
the kid
I've
getting
seen
at?
more emotion from tissue box
Was
commercials.
the kid
than it.
getting at that she killed the huntsman?
It feels
She's-
like
he-
the
What
kid
was he getting
knows
at? You know,
It's
something.
like he's supposed to be upset.
It's like
is he
dad,
supposed to know that the kid,
dad's
that the
been
dad did it?
gone, and he implies that she's doing nothing to figure out what happened to the dad. And the
No,
mom's
then
like,
he doesn't
What
know.
he implies is that she's doing nothing to move past his death.
Okay.
So I
okay.
think that he's supposed to know that dad
Poorly.
did the deed of removing himself from this plane of existence, and mom is like, don't tell your sister because she's
Right.
blind now because she saw him kill himself or some shit. I don't know what the fuck. I have no idea. The movie doesn't explain anything to you.
No, it doesn't make any sense.
oh yeah, 'cause
It's like-
the kid's like, can you
dead
accept
ends,
it?
It's a lot of questions. It's a lot of.
I mean, that's
I've
why
got this great idea, but I'm gonna fit it in here somehow.
I assume
You know,
that
like-
like she saw him kill himself, and that's why she's blind now, right? She's like, I saw something so horrific that my eyes never want to see something again. But they don't tell you that that's what's going on. They
But
just
wait, there's more,
There's more aliens, perhaps.
and
Like,
they're
this
from
could-
Sumeria.
If there's no,
Yeah.
if this like I
Ancient
was saying
Sumeria.
earlier with the sort of paranormal slant of the owl, if this was a paranormal movie like Hereditary, maybe more interesting. Maybe if you just forget all the alien shit and just have it be like there's some we're all haunted.
That's exactly what I liked about
Spooky.
Hereditary. It didn't go, is this in their minds? Is this psychological? No, when they're summoning a fucking demon. And
Yeah, there's-
they're
there's-
using
they're
kids to put the
haunted.
demon in the kids. They're
It's like a-
fucking bringing a demon into the world.
It's
But
like
they
us
also
go-
like it also at
And they
times
stick to that story and they marry it. You know
but
what I
it
mean?
also still by the end you still are like, is this in their mind though? Like I don't know.
No,
like
you're not. When she's
Just culty
floating in the
stuff.
midair, cutting her
Yeah.
own head off. There's
you
no
are
question
I'm
that's
still kind of like
supernatural.
well I mean I'm still kind of like, but what is this meant to represent, and like is it actually real, or is this like, you know, is this sort
See,
of
with
like the
that,
ghost
I
of the
took it-
psychological torment of the family? Like it could still, you could still Hereditary, you could still argue is
You could,
meant to
but
be symbolic, whereas this
I think-
movie is just like there is no symbolism and there is no
No.
literalism. It's just
Yeah, there's
shit
no
happening on the
subtext.
screen.
There's no
Yeah.
subtext. There's no way you can even be
Yeah.
like, maybe they meant. Like
Yeah.
the only thing that was
Perhaps.
slightly, like I said, was the fact that you could pull out of it that the aliens made us, so they like to come back and pick us up and poke stuff in us, and then take our
But-
kids and
but
not
they're-
give them back.
They're also
Yeah.
And
like
be like, fuck you, I'm God.
they're also
Like, that's
leaving it
basically-
they're also leaving it up to us to decide whether or not things happened
Hmm.
for the way that people are acting, which is like that's lazy of them because they're not giving us enough information to be able to come to some sort of definitive argument that you and I could have a disagreement about it.
Right.
It's just like maybe this happened and we're like trying to fill in blanks because we are confused, not
Oh, wait,
because
there's
we
more.
actually want to know why it happened, just because we're like we don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Let's fucking cement these two
This was
things together
around-
with spit.
This is around the time of the movie when I was like, the stuff at the beginning and the meta-ness of the actors playing these roles in the reenactment and then playing themselves in the opening and at the end, fully unnecessary, except for if it's a device to make it viral in an era of virality being pretty new. That's the only thing that I could think of doing that meta. And Jared, you're right. I thought about this too. Like the director was clearly trying to make up some new kind of movie, some new
Some
thing.
kind of fourth kind of movie.
It's
My
the
qu-
That's it.
My question was, which did he film first, and who was following who? Did he film the reenactment shit first, the real life stuff, or did he film
You make a movie and then he was like, "Now I got to film."
So I
Did he
do
film
actually.
the real stuff, and then have the other actors follow, or did the good actors act first and then the fake? Like,
So I didn't do like a deep dive research on this, but I do have a theory.
okay,
But I don't know if it's like a real theory or holy shit. So my theory is
I gotta go
that-
change my pants.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah, I just fifth kinded in my pants over here.
Oh my
so
god, the implication.
it's just blood. So I
I need a colonoscopy.
yeah, I thought that maybe they started filming a movie and they realized the movie was shit. So they're like, how do we make this better? And they're like, what if we like fake make a bunch of really cheap ass like we hire some like $2 a day actors and we just like set up some handy cams and make it seem like it's a Blair Witch style thing, where like they were maybe making a movie that they thought they could get going as like a Tales from the Crypt level, or like, you know, something bigger than it was. Couldn't do it, so they're like, let's just make this Blair Witch style movie that we can film for $2,000 over the course of 3 weeks, and then slap it on to this $10 million budget movie that we've got, and then market it as a true story. And like, because true stories do always do well and better than movies that aren't. And I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's what happened, but it feels that way. It feels like they were being disingenuous because of like their parachute didn't open when they decided to, you know, jump out the plane. They're like, we don't have enough money to film the alien invasion scene of it coming over the house and stealing the daughter. And they're like, what if we do it like a shitty body cam footage from a cop who's like, there's beams of light, and we just make it all scrambled.
It's pulling. Yeah. It's pulling.
The little girl just popped out through the chimney.
And all you see is like a round shadow go over the house, and then that's it. It's like, what?
It does feel like they covered up. They covered up all the cool shit with the scrambly tape. Yeah. Which really sucked.
That's also a way to hide your shitty special effects. And like,
that's true, but like it goes on for too long so many times. Where I'm watching this movie, like,
also
it's like that scene in South Park.
They brought it back for that.
That's true, for like a second. But it's like that scene in South Park in that episode where it just shows the two guys on the wall and they're watching like the Game of Thrones or the fucking Lord of the Rings style battle, and they're just describing it. They're like, wow, and now this is happening. We don't have the budget to show this. That's what them scrambling the screen every time something cool happened felt like.
But I mean, so I will say that the part in the bed where the guy like where you first sort of see something crazy happen on the you know, shitty footage, I think it still worked in the sense that it gets really quiet and then the camera jolting has a very loud noise, and then he immediately flings up and he's floating, and then and like it's not poorly shot. And the juxtaposition between the two images it's quite good.
Right.
And I'm like, this is good. And I feel like they probably shot this and showed it to some executive, and he was probably like, holy shit, this blows paranormal activity out of the water. And you're like, okay, yeah.
Here's another $5 million.
I see how this got
Jovovich.
Yeah.
That's actually
we just gotta slap Mila Jovovich on this, and we're gonna be rolling in Benjamin.
This does feel a lot like it does feel a lot like some executives saw like.
Did you know I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness?
I didn't, and I didn't actually mean to say Jehovah.
I thought you did your research. That's wicked. Mila Jovovich is what I'm going to call her from now on. Okay. A fact.
It does feel like though that some executives saw some dailies and they're like, "This is it. This is the next one." And then you watch the whole movie. That way. It's like this fucking movie is 99 minutes long. Like it's longer than your regular 90 minutes, but this movie should be 87 minutes.
This is regular than your 90 minutes. It's 99 minutes. I'm telling you.
We're going to blow them away.
And 9 minutes is 911 phone calls at the end.
My point fell out.
What does the alien look like? Here's the thing. Never see it.
Never see it. We don't show it. They're always showing the monster. They, you know, with the people they think they want to see the monster.
Far, yeah. When
they don't. Like, they'll be too afraid. But
it's like they tell you show don't tell, but you got to show and not tell. But then, you know, like don't show the monster, let people use their imaginations. But they don't even like infer at any point that there's an alien anywhere in the scene. It's just like
we don't even know what the fucking killer looked like until you find it was Cinder Blue's own head off. But you know what I mean? Like
no, we saw a picture of the killer. It was a gun, remember?
It was him.
Yeah.
I will say, devil's advocate. Yeah. In 2009, I would have been like 20, right? I would have been 24. I couldn't handle horror or gore, right? I think if I went to see this in theater then, it might have actually scared me. I do see why people were scared by it if you're of a certain age and go to see it in theaters and it's like this new thing and you're stuck in a mind prison of the marketing. I can see, because I've talked to people in the last 2 weeks, a few people were like, the movie is fucked. It's so scary. And then I was
lot of
watching
people
it like this.
were freaked out by it, man.
If you buy the
Right.
story, if you can
Jason.
buy
True.
Acting
You
like
can
he's
buy the
hard
real-
and like fucking 15 years after it came out, be like,
Shaking his
fuck
head.
this movie.
Almost 40
it's
years
all
old.
fake.
It's all fake.
This movie
isn't
ain't
a
One
scary.
thing though,
documentary.
like you said about that scene, where that scene was good. He floats up out of the bed, everyone's standing around. The doctor sees this, who's like, I can't write this in my brain. But then the next scene ruins it. Because then you get Will Patton again off the fucking chain, kicking her door in, like, oh, what happened? What'd you do to that guy? It's all broke up down there. What
Did you
do to
break
this
his
guy?
neck? Was his neck broken because of hypnosis,
You
just
snap
like the
his
last
hypnotic
one?
neck with your hypnotic snapping.
Do you have some sort
my
of hypnotic powers?
Like,
or-
bring it down, Will,
Yeah.
and talk to the witnesses. There was a room full of them. She
He's like
didn't touch
banging
the guy.
on the door and she like just
Yeah, like,
unlocks it and it like flies open.
come
and he's just
in,
like in her
get in
face.
here.
Like, oh my god.
So,
So
I'm not
intense.
familiar with the actor that played August, the sheriff. And you guys are
Oh, Will
saying that
Patton?
he's in
well,
a
he's
million movies.
He's like one of those guys.
He's a really
I get
good
that now.
TV actor. He does like a lot of
Okay.
TV shows.
But he does
nowadays.
sound like the groundhog
Serious.
from Winnie the Pooh. Like he
Serious.
has that sort of
He has that way of speaking where
He's
he
intense.
whistles what he's saying to you.
When he talks, if he's really angry, he doesn't look at you. He looks like this.
yeah.
He'll
Yeah,
look at you quick.
because I was laughing out loud every time he was delivering lines. I was like, this guy used to be a good cop, and now he's above the law.
And
I-
Elias Cotes is kind of the same actor. The guy
Yeah.
that played the psychologist.
But he's like
In this, he was toned down.
he's
but
like
he's
the
kind of the same
baby. He's the baby De Niro. He's kind of like I'm
You can't
doing
think
it,
that
De
she
Niro,
did
but
this?
am I doing
How
it,
did this
De Niro? I
woman
don't
break
know.
a man in half?
Yeah.
You can't think she did.
Listen,
Uh,
listen. Everybody just calm down. I saw it. I saw it with my own two eyeballs over here in Alaska.
It was something you had to be there. You had to be there to see.
You
it.
couldn't be over
shit my
there,
pants.
over there. You had to be over here to see.
It was the
what I
one
saw.
time that we didn't have a fucking camera running, you know? This whole movie.
You know, we had the camera rolling, but you know, I forgot to press play.
So let me just move the plot along here a little bit. We get more actual
Right, yeah.
audio of the situation.
Play on the- Show
There's
me
also a
footage.
documentary of some sort. The audio talks about 300 people waking up in the night scared about
owls
disappearances.
or some shit.
Now Abby's hypnotizing all the people, the 3 different families. We get actual quote unquote footage of a guy talking about the owl from his sleep.
The elf
and
from his sleep.
from Elf. He's
Oh,
back.
I thought you
in
said the
fourth
elf.
kind
The elf
form.
from his. He's like, hey, it's
That's
me.
why there were no cats.
I'm
in
back
the movie.
to perform more. Yeah, there's no.
I'm gonna
cats.
eat your cat. That's my elf impression.
Alf was the alien.
I'm gonna eat your
Killed her
cat.
husband.
There's
Is
a
that what he
man.
sounds like? Maybe I've
gonna
never
eat
seen Elf.
I'm gonna
Hey,
eat
kill
your
me.
cat.
I
Hey,
thought he talked
kill
like this.
me.
Oh, it's me, Elf, over
Pretty
here.
much.
Excuse
He's
me.
probably based on some famous actor or something like all of the Hanna-Barbera.
Mel
Like he
Brooks or
kind of has,
something.
yeah, he kind of has that vibe. He sees something entering the room. We don't. Oh, this is when they're hypnotizing the first guy who ends up fucking murder suing his family.
Where he tries to run across the tiny IKEA table and
Yeah, he
He
just wipes
smashes
it.
everything. He's like, "Did I
And
do
they
that?"
show-
She's like, "Yes, you did."
They
but
show it on both screens, which I laughed out loud at. Like that was not
Yeah.
effective to scare
Well,
anybody. It just was.
I
like
think that was
two
that
Peter
was
Griffins crashing, two Chris
The one
Farleys
guy-
crashing through
so.
a table.
Jason, calm
The
down.
real
It's not-
footage, though, was actually better than the
Right.
Than
Yeah,
the guy
it
who was
wasn't
like,
meant
"Oh, no, my God."
Yeah, it wasn't meant to scare. What it was meant to do, I guess it was meant to scare. It was meant to show that they're lining these two things up to be like they're both real.
Yeah. We're showing you what we made, but we're
Yeah.
also showing you
What actually
Real
happened in
footage.
Alaska?
Nome, Alaska.
And the way you know it's real is the guy in the real footage is a better actor. That's
Yeah.
Somehow, yeah.
You kind of have to have that though to sell it. It sucks.
Also,
that-
apparently-
that
I'll say
actor
that's
from
the
Real
only one
Abby-
that I thought.
Yeah,
People
they-
from-
The rest were shit.
Real Abby was not a great actor, but Mila Jovovich is not a great counterpart to that actor either.
Well,
so
she
that
never
whole-
played her because the real one, even when she was like doing herself in interviews, she talked like this the whole time.
I think that's because she's
we're gonna
paralyzed
go-
from the waist down. Stop making fun, you able.
No. It was when she was doing the recordings. in the reenactments, she even sounded like that.
I know. I wrote down she does not sound like a therapist. She sounds like Shelley Duvall from The Shining.
Right, exactly.
That's
And
funny that
Jovovich
you
was
said
kinda like
that.
anyway. She's like, "We're gonna count you back now. Okay, we're gonna do a little." Like she was too like assertive, I guess, compared to the
5,
other actors.
4, 3, 2, 1.
And you're
Got
fucked.
this Care
I'm
Bear
a
countdown.
But
Go home and kill your family now.
the thing that was interesting with this whole sequence,
Right.
though, is that when the guy comes out of it, he is like, I can't repeat any of the things I just said. I thought that was legitimately interesting. I was interested by, like, I was like, why can't he say it? Obviously, he saw something so unspeakable that's the one thing that scares me about the aliens in this movie is that it's so unspeakably horrific that they can't verbalize what they have witnessed in their hypnotism. That's the only part that I was in my head. I was like, that's actually kind of fucked up, because when we see aliens, they just show aliens in movies. You know, even in Fire in the Sky, when we finally see the alien, it's kind of like unsettling.
It's unsettling, and the things that they do to him are scary, but they're not as scary as what I conjure in my mind when I think of what they're doing to people in this, because it sounds
just fucking drilling.
It sounds like they're just drilling into your body and stuff. Yeah,
but that's what I mean. It's all cold tables and shit. There was no
I will say that
teach you and show you how to use fire.
There's
we're just gonna drill your kneecaps and then send you fucking home.
When they do it's basically an exorcism, right? Like at the end when she's like,
I had to go back and I had to call them to me.
Possesses her.
Yeah, it's almost like an exorcism where they're like calling on a demon or whatever, and then it shows sort of stuff that's going on, and then it like shows this crazy like egg beater like going towards her open legs, which is like, oh my god, and then it shows her on the couch and she's like. And I'm like, god, this is borderline comedic looking. Like the way the angle they chose to show, and like
trying to say that was their daughter.
I don't know. That's the thing. This movie's so stupid. It doesn't.
Like, was the alien supposed to be the father? Like, we impregnated you, so we're taking
we're taking her baby back. Yeah,
blind because she's an alien, and her eyes are.
Haven't you ever played The Sims? Come on. It happens all the fucking time. But yeah, like it's borderline comedic. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Whatever.
I was gonna move the plot along a little. We get a 911 call with there's somebody with a gun. The sheriff goes to investigate. It's the guy Tommy. What's his name?
Yes, it is the sheriff. And you're like, what?
Take the shot.
There.
Take the shot. If you got the shot, you take the shot.
I was like, wow, he's not even giving her a chance.
Oh yeah. Okay, so this whole sequence is pretty great because the assumption is that they have snipers, but it clearly shows a guy with a shotgun.
It's like 100
yards away from the house.
Is there a guy in the tree like the nearest house is like fucking an acre away? Yeah.
Okay.
Dean Lerner
kills a dog.
It's a guy in like a roadside tree house that someone made for their kids. Like it's
kills a dog and a bunch of squirrels.
For this guy.
I can't even lay down in this fucking thing.
Takes out a bunch of flowers. Because the spread goes like 10 feet. Anyway, Tommy's in the house. He's firing off rounds. We get the old scene where all the cops are like in front of the house, like trying to like talk him down. And Mila Jovovich shows up because, of course, like, okay, I guess the psychiatrist has to go there and try to talk.
What happened to her kids? I thought it was.
Well, he called for her. He said, "I want the doctor."
Oh yeah,
I want her.
Right.
Yeah. But I also am like, I thought that she was going to show up with her kids in the car. And this is gonna because like what is she gonna do? Like be like, Brenda, get over here. I have to go to a hostage negotiation situation in the middle of the fucking night. My kids are sleeping. Like she probably would take her kids with her, and I thought that was gonna be part of the plot, and it wasn't. And it maybe would have made the movie a little bit more interesting.
I was still
like the cop would have been like, you can't bring your goddamn kids to this. It's a hostage negotiation.
Another layer.
It's like I couldn't find a sitter at 3 a.m.
No! It's him! Run! He's got his theories!
I have a little theory here, a little insight. I was still on board with this movie at this point. I wasn't fully like, this is the dumbest piece of shit.
This is where I lost it in the movie theater. Yeah.
I was still kind of on board here. What I thought was interesting is, you know how when you're watching like Friday the 13th style horror, like an 80s slasher, and it has that disjointedness of it feels like it's kind of jumping around because it's more about the kills It's more about getting to the next kill. So you kind of like the plot doesn't always matter. This movie kind of felt like it explained the in-betweens a little bit of a horror movie up until this point. Like her showing up and the reasons why she had to show up, and the little bits of her talking to like, because this point of the movie, this chunk of the movie kind of has a Home Alone of it all to it, where we get to like her dealing with the 3 different families, right? And I just thought that it was an interesting way to jump from moment to moment and scene to scene with her showing up and it being a horror movie, but them explaining some in-between parts. I don't know if that makes sense necessarily. It made sense at the time, especially in retrospect, all of this being dumb. And at this time in the movie watching it, I was still trying to analyze it and like it. But it was getting away from me around here too. But I thought that it was a deliberate thing the director was trying to do, it being primarily a horror movie, which it's not. It, like, up until now, it is kind of just a horror movie. After this, it kind of goes into this weird, like, pseudo sci-fi, like, religion thing. And I felt like up to this point, they were doing the horror tropes, but they were filling in bits in between, I guess is my point. And that's my dumb theory. That
I don't know if that's a theory, just so much as it was your experience of the movie that you had. Up to that
okay.
point.
Sorry if that doesn't make a lot of sense.
That makes sense.
The note that I have here is it kind of feels like the disjointedness of some horror movies are explained by it being a recollection from a recording. Interesting way to jump from moment to moment, scene to scene. Which is kind of... I had a hard time...
So the theory is like it would have been more interesting had they been able to utilize that a little bit more. Like I mean, I think that that's what you're saying.
I had a hard time
like,
taking notes for this movie because of the fact that there was a found footage element and a found recording element. There are scenes in this where it's just like
it's a poorly put together movie. Like it's not
right.
It's not well.
It's very
made.
disjointed.
Yeah, it's
hard to even break out the 3 acts to figure out what the 3 acts were.
I think
it's one
3
act.
acts
The
are
movie
like,
is one act.
That's a good
and
point.
that's because you're
big,
trying to
act.
fuck with all the different movies that are in this movie.
Yeah.
Now, a friend of the
keeps
show
restarting almost every time you get so.
I
far,
bet you
like,
every
character,
every character in this movie probably had their own act to a movie that happened elsewhere, but they didn't actually like consult each other when they were making the movie.
So I got into a little bit of an argument with a friend of the show, Aaron Hurdle, where he was kind of saying that like this movie, I'm just going to try to see if I can find it quickly in our chat. I probably won't be able to get to it. But basically, like, he was basically trying to say that he okay, I found it. He goes, not really a movie. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then he said, boo. He's like, it is, I mean, not a real movie, a joke movie, not a film, I'll say.
A film.
He basically
I'm Willem Dafoe, and I'm here to tell you that this is not a film.
He was warning me. He was trying to say that like mockumentaries aren't like
he was warning
real
you.
movies, but I was
it's not
I was
a
like,
mockumentary.
Dude,
this is not a mockumentary.
And I was like, Spinal Tap is a movie, you know.
Ding, ding.
Best in Show is a movie.
Film.
Is a film.
That's a film.
It's a film. But
those are also mockumentaries.
Those are comedies that
they're making fun of documentaries.
Exactly.
Mocking the idea of a dog show or a behind the scenes.
I saw the best way to describe this one. I saw somebody describe it as a pseudo documentary.
That's what it is.
Yeah. So that
because they're presenting it like it's a real documentary, but the content is real and meant to be taken seriously and scary and interesting.
I'm just gonna say that I feel
none of those. Yeah.
I feel slighted. I feel really slighted by this fucking creation.
Well, that's how I felt when I saw it back then, because I rented it and I hadn't really paid attention to the aftermath because the internet wasn't quite the same with movie.
Well, that's why I was like, yeah, let's do it, because I haven't seen it since theaters, and I remember being like, whoa, that movie kind of, I remember it affected me afterwards. I think I even brought it up during the Black Phone episode, because we like started talking about on Black Phone, we started talking about like things that really freaked us out when we were kids, and I couldn't think of anything. So I was like, aliens. Like there was a lot of alien documentaries and stuff and like TV specials all the time when I was a kid. When I was like 8 or like 7 or 8 years old, like they were everywhere.
Unsolved Mysteries in Search of.
Yeah, it's like every one of those shows is like
X-Files.
this week.
The theme to
on-
X-Files.
Yeah, they're like,
If you've seen a mystery, be sure to call.
Call the number on the screen.
Things that go bump in the night.
and you're like,
My
oh,
name is Robert Stack.
I remember one year on Halloween.
I shit my pants.
my
I need a break.
hanging out together, relaxing in the 69
Down the
position.
Her name was Clarette Burnett. She worked at a small diner.
I remember my uncle
She
was
decided
watching
to walk home that evening.
the episode of X-Files where Mulder and Scully are on cops and they're going around that like neighborhood that it's they're seeing all the, there's basically like a
it's like a
Nightmare on Elm
shape-shifting
Street
monster,
shapeshifter
man.
that shows you your like
I think
nightmares.
one of the forms it takes is literally Freddy Krueger.
Exactly.
He had knives with hands.
And I was like,
Nice.
I remember asking, I was probably like, fuck, I would have been like 12 at the time. And I was like, is this like a special Halloween? It was on Halloween that he was watching it. It's like, is this a special Halloween episode? And he was like, no, this is just what the show is like. And that fucking...
But it was an episode of X-Files, not an episode of Cops, but the two shows were on the same network, so they did a crossover episode,
Yeah.
But it was good. It was because it was all shot like a Cops episode. And
Oh,
it was,
I
like,
love that
from the
episode.
perspective of one cop who's like just running into Mulder and Scully every once in a while, and like Mulder's like, "Listen, just stay back," and like it'd be some guy who's like got like a million bee stings, like, ugh! And the guy's like, "What happened to him?" And Mulder's like, "Bee stings."
He's afraid of bees, so
He's
he
afraid of
got
bees.
stung by 100 bees. And Scully's like, that's impossible, you idiot.
What are you talking about? I'm a scientist.
Yeah.
Listen, Mulder, I don't think there's any bees right now. It's nighttime, and like, how could he be stung by bees? And it's like, Scully, look at him. He's covered in bee stings. He's got a lot of bee stings on his body. Scully, come on.
So it's like the next day at this point, and Abby calls the wife to check in. Wait, no, what is this now? What am I talking about? Okay, so...
Oh, the other guy.
Yeah, okay, no, sorry,
Yeah.
yes. They go to the next person, but before that, when he's holding the wife hostage, he's yelling, Zambutu eater. Cops are yelling, take the shot. Kills
They're
his
like,
wife.
how dare he call us that?
Yeah, Zambutu. That's a racial slur.
What do you mean by that?
The cops are shooting off shotguns into the house but they do actually just go in and take him out after he kills the wife.
No, he shoots himself in the head.
Blows his own head off. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's censored.
Yeah, he
That's
turns
why
the
in
gun
my
on
head
himself.
it's like that thing in Signs where we kept thinking that we saw the bird hit the wall, but really he just describes it so much. For me, I thought that the cops got him because it was censored. It had the like censor on top of it.
Because you're so used to seeing censored police footage these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he pops his wife and then he does the kid.
And then he shoots himself beneath the chin or whatever. Yeah.
And this is the point where I
Robert
recognize...
Stack
Says, and that was the time that everyone decided to freak the fuck out.
This is the point that I was saying earlier where I recognized that the
It was
reenactment
a small town in Alaska.
was almost too over the top. Anyway, yeah, we go to the next couple. They bring them into the room now, and they're basically like, so something bad happened last night. We can't hypnotize you because, well, did you see the news? Well, they don't actually ask that, but that's all I could think of. It's like it's such a small town that you have to know what happened to the guy. A murder suey doesn't just... And then...
I feel like in a small town it would be easier to stop people from knowing about it,
You
but it would
think?
just the cop would go home and tell his wife, and then
that's what
and
I mean.
then
Small
like
town,
the
everybody
wife
knows.
would tell their kids, and the kids would just post about it on social media, and then it would be like in the zeitgeist of this small town of like 1,000 people within minutes.
And then it would be on the newspaper. Like
Yeah.
And then
7
Robert
pages.
Stack would get a hold of it, and he'd be like,
Yeah.
We've got to get a couple of plane tickets to Alaska.
We're gonna solve this.
But it's unsolved.
Are you gonna solve it really? Because that's not the name of your
Maybe
show.
we give it a couple of months, and if it goes unsolved, we'll do a special.
We find
have
out
to fly in
during...
there on an airplane.
Looking like Tomb Raider.
I've
find
never
out-
been on an airplane.
We find out during this...
not after the oh sorry, I was gonna
It's okay.
do a BD Cooper joke, but
That fits.
Tim's here. Tim just got home. Talk just in time for X-Files talk. Tim is saying
Tim
that
time.
Tim time. A guest of the show, fan of the show, friend of the show, Bullseye Robert Stack impression. I can't help but feel that I don't want to blow too much smoke up your Yahoo, but it is a good Robert Stack. It's I want to do a segment where we just call Robert Stack. You go on. You go on.
Hello.
You know. So Robert Stack, how you doing today? Anyway, this we find out that this stuff has been going on for 3 years, which both feels like a long time for them not to like put some effort into figuring out what it actually is, but also feels like it should have been going on for longer in a mysterious up north Alaskan town. It doesn't make any sense.
Why did they suddenly start coming there? Yeah.
There are more unsolved murders in Nome, Alaska than anywhere else in Alaska.
I think it's disappearances, not murders. Like they're not finding people murdered everywhere.
She
It's
says
just, like,
unsolved murders, though.
but she says murders and disappearances.
Remember, she thought her husband was murdered.
She lumps a bunch of things together to
Right?
inflate the number to make us feel like
She's the ultimate unreliable witness.
Self-murder.
No, she's the ultimate Robert Stack. She's just she's fucking pumping the gas for this unsolved
Well,
mystery.
she did walk out of the blur into focus to the camera.
She did, and she said, "Hello, I'm Robert Stack," and then we're like, "What?" And she said, "I'm actress Mila Jovovich,
Jehovah Witch."
Jehovah Witch.
Yeah. And I got hired to talk to you about spooky shit in the woods."
So I think
it's up to you to decide if you want to believe all this.
And then the director comes out and he's like, "Yeah,
Whatever.
you decide." And we're like, "Who
I've
the
already
fuck
been
are you?"
paid.
And he's like,
I'm doing the interviews. Why?
Before we get to that next couple,
We
actually,
ran out of money, and I couldn't hire an actor to decide.
Yeah.
So I played it myself.
I wanted to add to the authenticity. If I'm in the movie,
That's
clearly
funny,
it's real.
That feels real. That feels like a real conversation, though, because of how stupid it is.
Except
Yeah,
he's the
actors are
worst
dumb.
actor in the whole movie out of everybody.
Because
When he's like trying to stumble, like it's written to be stumbled. He's like, what do you think about it? I'm like, what the fuck? That was like the most actory stutter I've ever heard in my life. And then I realized, oh, he's the director. When I looked it up afterwards, I was like, oh, it makes sense now. That's why.
He's not a great actor. That's
He
for
wanted
sure.
to, like you said, Jason, he wanted to be like, if I make 10 more movies, I'm going to do this in every movie.
I'm going to be in
show up.
every one of them. I'm going to have a twist.
I'm going to be the, I'm
But
going to
not
be
like
the
Peter
new
Jackson,
wings,
where he's just like a drunk
in
guy
4
coming out
of
of a
them.
pub. I want to be like,
Listen, I love the idea that this guy got like a Loch Ness monster movie and like a Dracula movie and like a, you know, I don't know, Sandworms movie or
Tremors.
give him all of them.
Yeah, like a
Give him all of them.
Tremors. You know, like he's going all over the world and dealing with different and he's the guy who's like from whatever the
Oh,
university,
yeah.
Chapman.
Every movie
University.
kicks off with him from
being
Chapman's
like
ice cream.
But Mila Jovovich always shows up too, and she's like, "I'm Mila Jovovich, and I'm telling you right now that everything that happened in this movie is 100%
Could you imagine a whole
accurate
series
to
of
every
these fucking
detail."
based on actual
Totally
case
real.
studies bullshit?
That's what they wanted. They
100%.
wanted Paranormal Activity 7. This
It's the
time,
it's
there's a
the
hot tub that's on it.
BOTACS universe. It's the BOTACSU, the based on the actual case studies universe.
But can you wrap that?
And the first,
That's a mouthful.
this is their Iron Man. And then
That's a
their-
mouthful.
Their Hulk is going to be the fucking sandworms because they ran out of ideas
They're like,
immediately.
Fuck.
So
What about an ocean sandworm?
Oh,
Wait.
They're like, isn't that just an underwater worm?
Isn't that just a
Genius.
whale?
They're like, wait, that's just a Loch Ness monster.
Go get more
We already
cocaine.
did that.
That's genius.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before we get to the next couple, the cop does show up and try to say you can't go around hypnotizing people, and she's like, "I'm going to hypnotize more people," which she does. This is when I also
He
recognize-
does like 3 more people before he catches them.
He's so intense.
no before
He's
he
so
does.
intense.
He tries to arrest her after.
Oh, my goodwill is gone.
They talk about
wasted it
Tommy
all.
a little bit. He, the guy is like, I want to be hypnotized because he wants to see what happened, but they have to handle it delicately.
Hold
with
on, this
Dr.
is one of the
Campos.
questions I wrote down. I wrote
Okay,
down questions
perfect.
for each of us throughout the
I love
movie.
it.
If you were having these owl dreams, and
dreams.
and you had a shared psychiatrist or therapist that you knew somebody who was also having, because she's a terrible psychiatrist and
Yeah, 'cause she
therapist and
told-
is just telling everybody like,
Straight up.
yeah, Franklin had a dream about an owl too. That's
That's the
fucking
same
nuts.
dream.
Yeah, what the hell?
She
And,
didn't
like,
sign
you
the
knew-
the teacher confidentiality. What the fuck? She didn't sign the doctor confidentiality papers.
No, I
The-
thought I'm picturing Jason going into a therapist at the age of almost 40 with his mom, being like, "Mom, you have to sign this."
It's on the parent teacher.
She's actually signing a
confidentiality
waiver that
papers.
says that you can use all of his
Yeah.
stuff in a movie.
Yeah.
So the question is, if you knew that you had the same shared dream with another person and they killed their whole family after going under hypnosis, would
right?
you go under hypnosis for
I think
any circumstance?
here's my answer to that.
Yeah.
That happens. Credits. That's the
Oh.
end of the fucking movie.
Yeah.
Nobody else
Yeah, well,
goes
no,
to
really.
her. Nobody
Oh,
else
you
goes.
go around and make sure no one else goes to the.
No, I don't do
therapy.
that
Like,
myself.
Don't go to her.
I
She'll
say
hypnotize
the
you into killing you.
The story is that happens. She's disbarred. Credits.
Yeah, that's what I had written down
He
too.
should have
that
been
when he
disbarred
comes
already.
to tell her,
You're not hypnotizing any more people. You hypnotized your last person.
she's like, "Fuck you! I'm gonna hypnotize everybody." That's it. You're right. That's the end of the movie. When they got to the couch scene where the guy's like, "So you hypnotized Tommy, and he killed himself and his family?" And she's like, "Yeah. So I just want to warn you. It's probably dangerous. I don't know if you want to do this or not." And they're like, "Yeah, I think we do. Yeah. I think
They
we do."
both look at each other.
They
The
both-
husband and wife look, and they're like,
Right?
"We need to figure this out," because he keeps like peeing on the floor, and he has like really horrific nightmares, and
Itchy
it's
on
bad.
the back. But like that would have been the end of the movie. They would have been like, "No, we're not gonna do that."
So
And the
no-
sheriff would have
who knows,
arrested
I
her.
guess.
It would have been it.
Yeah.
I love him. so much.
Instead,
I mean, I didn't have an answered yet.
oh,
What's your answer?
what's your answer?
Yeah, put me under. I want to see what's up. I want to see what happened.
I can't believe you aren't hypnotizing me. What are you talking about? That
There's
guy-
no one in my house. I'm not going to kill anyone.
Yes, let's count back. Come on, start.
I'll
I'm
see what
ready.
happens. If I float on a bed, send me that tomorrow. I'll make a lot of money on TikTok probably.
If I twist up and break my back, well,
Oh, I
Them's the
forgot about
breaks.
that part where your jaw paralyzes you
yeah,
somehow.
you could get the jaw thing and you
I
break your own neck.
interpreted her having the
Joker.
neck brace on at the end when she's in the bed as her jaw just distended so far that she got a neck injury.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Theory
she also
corner.
was in a wheelchair at the end too, so that could also prove your theory that you just have.
And that's
Broken
not
neck.
just a theory, that's a fourth kind theory. Ding,
That's my
ding,
fourth
ding, ding,
theory
ding.
tonight.
It's a
I
theory.
mean, we're going into
dense
the eighth
episode.
kind at this point.
It's true.
Remember when you thought that we wouldn't have enough to talk about, Jason, and we're still like chewing
Well,
on?
I think
Did
it's
you see
because
the spaceship. That was a dildo. Come
it
on,
was
that
a
was
huge,
a sex toy.
huge
That was
dildo.
a sex toy. That was not a spaceship.
I think I'm interjecting with the plot this time, which is helping us.
Well, I only got through of two of my questions that I have.
Oh, sorry.
3 of them.
Nice.
No, but
Jared,
I'm gonna spread them out. That was the first time that it came up organically.
What's your answer to this question, J. Rod?
No, he said no.
Oh.
But I mean, go ahead if I'm wrong.
No, I said no. You're right.
Oh, you just say it. You're just like, I'm good.
Yeah, I don't
Credits.
do hypnosis.
Yeah, I think
No way.
hypnosis is
Real
a
life,
bunch of
fake life,
hooey.
no thanks. I don't want anyone being like, "Hey," and then they cluck like a chicken.
So yeah, we kind of described this scene though. They try to preface it like we have to do this delicately. So now we have this other hypnotist here.
Don't want you murdering, so I'm gonna hypnotize you, and he's gonna hypnotise me, and then someone else is on the computer are gonna hypnotize him.
The
So that we're all
receptionist is
deep.
going to come in and
Yeah,
talk
he's
about
gonna hypnotize
the office shredder, and so he starts gurgling and convulsing. And when he wakes up, he pukes, and the puke looks like a mouthful of a chewed up sandwich, and that's
what I said too. Banana sandwich, right?
It was the worst puke ever.
Like a peanut butter and banana sandwich that he just had sitting in his mouth. Like they couldn't have hooked up any kind of tube. I feel
One
like
lump.
for $15, I could have hooked up a better tube, and as long as the cameraman was in a certain spot, I could have made it look more like barf than that.
Yes.
It looked
Just
like
give him a can
looked
of
terrible.
chunky soup and
Yeah.
take a big mouthful of that. That would have even looked more realistic.
maybe that's what they did, but they forgot to microwave it, and it was like it was all gelatinous still.
We're like an hour into this movie, and this is the first time that it's like this guy when he comes out of the hypnotism, he's like, "They're not from here."
from somewhere else.
From Samaria.
But he
it's a
can't-
place over in the Middle East.
Samaria.
In Iraq now.
This stuck out to me too, where he's like, I can't see them when I try to think of them, like in my own mind, and all he can see is the owl, which is stupid. But then he says,
This is also a question I have.
They smell
which
like
is not
putrid
part
cinnamon.
I wrote that down
What is
too.
putrid
Explain to
cinnamon?
me
So
what that
fucking
means.
random.
Barf
Putrid
mixed with
cinnamon?
cinnamon, I guess. Like, what does that mean?
The only way that
Rotten
I can
cinnamon?
contextualize that idea
Like
is
that cinnamon gum that redneck girls always chew.
like maybe, but
And
like,
after they chewed it for a few hours, it mixes it with their stinky breath.
you know how like weed can smell
That's
like
what. Okay, so you have an actual definition of what putrid
There you
cinnamon
go.
is.
you know how
That's
weed
probably what it is.
can smell like skunk, but it doesn't go the full way into skunk. You know the difference when
Right.
you actually smell a skunk. That's putrid. That's kind of what I imagine. Like imagine if cinnamon was like some goo coming out of an alien as a fear response. So probably like a redneck girl with
Yeah,
Chewing
exactly
cinnamon
what he just
gum.
said,
So
I was
weirdly
about to- I was about to be
specific.
like, Jason, I think that's the same thing he said, but you just said it in
I went to a redneck
fancier
high school.
words.
And
Yeah.
they chewed big red all the time. It was just like this weird mix of cinnamon gum and bad breath. And you're just
But
like,
I actually wrote down as one of my questions, please explain putrid cinnamon to me? Question mark.
we both did.
You did, and I accept
I had a
your
question.
answer.
And
When did they
also,
come to
Tim, just before you get to
333?
that, Tim is saying that I'm donating to the Puke Tube Fund right now for Steve. And to answer your question, Jared, 333 is half of 666. Mic drop.
oh.
You know
So
how
they're
they
only half
they're half
Satan,
demons, half Satan,
half devils.
old
Half
half
semen,
Satan.
half demon.
Full fun.
After the second hypnosis, receptionist is the worst acting I've ever seen. That's what I wrote for
Because she's
my
just
next
like
note.
throwing papers around.
She comes in and she goes, and she's like holding the thing. You're like, what the fuck is going on?
Something.
And then she says, I can't listen to it again, and then runs out of the
and
screen,
leaves.
and you never see her again for the
Yeah,
rest
for the
of the
rest of the
movie.
movie.
She kept going.
She
got on the
ran
fucking plane
back to not
California.
Alaska. She's like, yeah,
This
she ran
the
back to
reason why I
California.
brought up the fact that this is when he mentions that they're not from here, because if we didn't know the premise of this movie, like if you somehow went into this blind, up till now you could say, oh, it's either ghosts because of the owl or it's aliens. I guess you would have to be pretty dumb to
I
like.
think the owl is always aliens, though, isn't it?
No,
usually.
I thought owls in the Mothman Chronicles meant
Mothman,
that,
but there was always the.
but it like means
There's a-
that something bad's gonna happen, and it's the
I
Mothman
think
like
you guys are both
destroying a
like
bridge.
butting heads with like just weird theories that are like these could both be aliens or ghosts. What are you
Well,
talking
no,
about?
no, there was a movie a while ago where it was owls, but it was actually because they were out of focus. They looked like owls, but when they came into focus, it was just the big alien eyes and the weird shaped head.
Oh, that's
So
a good
They
point.
thought they were seeing owls,
Like,
and
they
I thought
kinda
that
look
that's
like
what they were
grays.
doing in this movie. I was like, this
Yeah.
happened before, but then they didn't even go there. It's like so many false starts. So many like, what other ideas?
Well, I think that's what the owl is meant to be. Like,
Yeah.
that's what it's meant to be.
Like the big eyes. It's supposed to
The
be
owls are meant to be like because they have the big ray around the eyes. Is like that's supposed to be like the eyeballs of the aliens.
Yeah.
The issue, but you're right. The issue in this movie is that they never show you any sort of point of reference. So
Right.
imagine you had never seen an alien thing before, and you'd never seen a ghost thing before. Imagine just going into this not knowing anything. You'd be like, "What the fuck am I watching? I
What
don't
is a
know."
movie?
Yeah, and like alien iconography obviously is a big part of science fiction cinema, and like it relies on you knowing things, but this movie doesn't give you any of that. So it's like
No.
if you are watching this for the first time, you're gonna either come out of this being scared of like levitating in your bed or being scared of owls. Like that's what you're
Yeah.
gonna be scared of. You're gonna be like, owls are aliens. Like there's
like-
probably someone out there who's like, I thought all aliens look like owls.
You might be scared of bad
What do you
tracking.
mean? Yeah, bad
Fuzzy-
fuzzy
fuzzy
like a
videos.
Fuzzy
Oh,
owl,
the
yeah.
TV's fuzzy. Shut it off. I can't after that movie.
But don't worry, Abby hits us with this fact. Over 11 million people have had these abduction stories, so it's got to be real. It's got to be real.
The owls. You know
I think
what?
she
I don't
says
think it's
is that
aliens.
in
I
a
think
court
the
of
owls
law,
are
that
an owl.
would definitely be proven to be true, right? If 11 million people witnessed it, And it's like, yeah, if the 11 million people have witnessed it at the same fucking time, like
Yeah.
we
I
all
mean,
saw the same thing, then yeah, but like it's not 11 million accounts over, 60 years and everybody being in a
that's what Abel
dim
says.
farm.
Abel is like, well, that doesn't account for weather balloons and
I hate that he says
weather
balloons
anomalies.
first, 'cause I'm like, what does a weather balloon?
Well, that's
even
an illusion.
Look like?
That's a reference to like the weather balloon from like the 60s from like Roswell. That was literally
but
just.
I hate that he
840s,
says that, right? Because it's just a thing that you put in a movie to be like.
This is an
weather
alien
balloons.
movie for people who don't know anything about aliens and are learning about all of the alien
it's
tropes
true,
for
you're
the first
right.
time.
They gotta
Gotta
shove it
throw
in there.
weather
They gotta have
balloons in there,
everything
yeah.
in there. Everything they
forgot.
can. Ancient Samaria weather balloons. What?
This is
Yeah.
also the first point that I realized that everything in the recreation is shot very warmly, like shot like with oranges and browns, and like everything is very toasty feeling, even though they're in fucking Alaska. And then I realized very quickly after I realized that, like, oh, because then all the other shit is shot very coolly. So they're doing that to give you a good visual representation of the two things flipping back and forth. But that also works against the Hollywoodized version of the movie that we're seeing half of, because they never film any of that coolly, and so therefore none of it is ever really that scary. Like, it's always just kind of like, it feels very homely, and in this horrifying moment of a woman screaming about her child.
Yeah, and it's the same room. They just moved the couch.
Oh God, yeah.
The office, if you look in the background, it's the same rock
stone
walls.
Yeah, if you're like, oh,
the couch against the wall for the one reenactment, and then they pulled the couch in the middle of the room for the real, or for the movie version, right? For the actors. Like,
they just filmed this whole fucking movie in one room.
Jason, you're right, man. I thought that I was going to be able to try and like defend this movie a little bit against you guys tearing it apart, but I feel like I've been just tearing into it like a rabid hyena the
Which is
entire
weird.
We've been fair though. We've been fair.
We've been fair,
We
but
saw what he was trying to do.
fair enough.
I usually like dumb movies like that don't deserve it.
This isn't dumb. This is bad.
This is
It's
bad.
different.
Yeah,
that's true. But
there were a lot of ideas, but
yeah,
no
but
payoff.
Steve will. Either one of us will be sort of the like. We play off each other well in that way, right? Where one person will like it and the other person won't, or vice versa. But this one I knew going into it, and Jared all week you've been like, "Did you watch it yet?" And tone of your written
He's like
words
over the fence. The
Did you
fence
see
being
it?
like, it's bad.
I didn't say that. I didn't lean any way. I wasn't like, go check out the IMDb rate or the Rotten Tomatoes rating.
So no, I just want to for once. I thought Noel was going to be commenting this whole time, and they were, and they're now in the chat saying the things that they wanted to say because for some reason they weren't coming through. Elf is based on Rolf the dog, the Muppet, and then also isn't all Sumerian ancient? Now that doesn't have a lot of context, but
basically,
so I guess if we say ancient,
That's why we just say Sumerian. It's implied that it's ancient at that point.
Yeah.
Just Sumerian.
They kept saying it in the movie though, ancient Samaria.
Ancient Sumerian.
Well,
no one speaks
4,000 years old. 4,000 years ago was ancient, bro. Just
that's ancient history.
Say what you mean.
It's ancient history.
So Teresa, the receptionist, comes in and asks about the tape Abby gave her. She seems to be freaked out. As you said. They listen to the tape from the other night when Abby was talking, when she's falling asleep, talking about like the different abductions or the potential abductions or whatever the fuck. And then she passes out, and then they hear drilling and screaming. That's just what is on the tape. And an unknown voice comes on that's not a known voice. And Abby's like, "That's not me," which I thought was kind of stupid. And then I had a theory corner that I was going to say, if this movie never had a name drop, I was just going to make a joke that, like, I theorized they're playing the sound of the alien talking, and he's going, "It's the fourth kind." And that's the name drop. Jared, you'll find out later that we do have a segment called The Name Drop where I just tell the time when they say the name of the movie, but they don't always say the name of the movie.
If they do that, yeah.
So if they do that, sometimes I have to improvise a little bit. We don't. We're rapidly barreling towards the title drop for this movie. Abby finds the thing. Abby finds a thing on her shoulder, and we get flashes of what could have happened, that little mark that she has on her shoulder. And she scratches on the floor, or the scratches on the floor. She sees the scratches on the floor and then gets a flash of like her being, I guess, pulled across the floor and scratching it, which is
like
really
the nails
stupid.
Going.
It's so.
You know what did that really well? Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, exactly, because it's a comic book movie.
Yeah, the nails.
It's a comic book movie. This is supposed
well, that's also
to be
directed by
grounded
Sam Raimi.
and Sam Raimi.
I know.
Into shadows. And wax floors.
That one scene in Spider-Man 2 was scarier than this entire movie, and that's a cap.
When
it's also one
Dr.
of the best
Octopus
Evil Dead
is fucking
scenes
coming back to life.
Yeah, it's also one of the best Evil Dead scenes that have ever been directed. Is Dr. Octopus coming back to life in the second Spider-Man movie when they're like, everybody picks up a chainsaw and is like, they're getting tossed around the room. Yeah, it's great.
Got him by the neck. Yeah.
I also have some more Noel quotes because they're highly quotable.
Noelisms.
KY jelly is a component of most pukes and goops in films, which that's pretty good. But then zero kinds.
Go all the way.
Zero kinds. Yeah, exactly. Method actors will use Epicac. Zero kinds was already too many. Is that just thoughts? Is that just thinking about aliens?
Zero kinds. In this movie's case, yes.
Yes.
Zero kinds was too many kinds. Because the fourth kind, we didn't even get to see the fourth kind. We just got.
Well, there's also a moment in this movie where they explain what the kinds are.
Yeah.
It's like
we're getting to that here soon.
Yeah.
The first kind, they look at you.
This movie should have been called
Second kind.
The Implication.
They look at you a little bit closer
and bring you flowers.
Yeah, they give you some flowers.
So this is. Let me just get through a bunch because it's fucking 10 o'clock.
All right, yeah.
The book with she finds the book with the number of the X-Files dude who's like into Sumerianism. Adusami. She calls. She asks about her husband.
He works at a Canadian university now.
But he's also uncredited and he has an alias, so he's probably
right. His alias, who he really is, works at a Canadian university.
So as she's talking to him, it seems that she's leafing through a book of ancient aliens. She hangs up when he hears her name. But then he reveals it was when he hears
hangs
Will.
Up when he asks. She hangs up when he asks what her name is.
Right. But then she just calls back immediately, and she's like,
he calls back.
He calls back. She hangs up. He calls back. Sorry.
Yes.
He reveals that it's a man named John that he was talking to, and he was calling about ancient languages. That's who Will/John was. And then this is when I realized that they were trying to do the same kind of thing as Signs. So I wrote down, like Signs, they have the religious undertones about the aliens and where they came from. Adusami heads there to Nome, Alaska.
Wow, it took you longer to explain that scene than the actual scene is. The scene is like fucking a minute and a half, and it took
I know.
I'm just
going through my notes to get through some.
I thought this was to make it faster to go through.
You know, honestly, his rereading of this is more interesting than the fucking movie. So
yeah, the movie does sound better, Jason.
It sounds way better with what he's saying. I'm like, the guy shows up.
He shows up.
Nolan said another thing. I feel deeply insulted by the cinnamon gum thing, for I am not a redneck, but I do have a cinnamon gum habit.
Listen,
you don't have to be a redneck to like cinnamon gum.
Listen, Jared and Noel,
a lot of redneck girls.
I also enjoy cinnamon.
I used to chew it to help with my allergies when I was a kid.
Like I said, you don't have to be a redneck girl to like cinnamon gum.
And Jared did say that he went to a predominantly redneck. The reason why I can never get him to watch wrestling with
Germany?
me. Yeah.
Look up New Germany.
New Germany,
that sounds
Nova Scotia.
like it's probably racist.
Yeah.
Jared will. Prolific amount of that there.
For the last 20 years now, I've been trying to tell Jared that he would enjoy 15 years. He would enjoy professional wrestling, but he can't bring himself to fucking watch a wrestling match because the wrestling fan redneck kids would abuse him so hard in high school and junior high school that it just put a bad taste in your mouth forever.
So the doctor shows up in Alaska and he is a language expert.
Bullying, not like
Anyway,
I
I like to skateboard and wear my hat backwards, and they wore work boots.
So he's a
like
language expert, and he
Right.
sits down with them all, and he sits down with Casey Jones and Resident Evil, and he himself is from a movie that I can't give you an example of. I'm sure he's in some sort of
He's been in a lot of movies. Yeah.
Yeah. And he says, like, did you know that this language that you were speaking has never been spoken ever? And I figured it out somehow. And we're like, wait, what? How does he know what it sounds like?
Even back when it was invented?
Yeah, it's just a bunch of
Nobody spoke it.
lines that are
They just-
like arrows overlapping, and you're like, how does he know what it sounds like?
But also Abel is like, you think you've been removed from a room by an alien race? He's a classic horror skeptic until
And then the other
Even
guy's
when he
like,
sees it,
and then
remember,
he
he's
pulls
like,
out
I
he
can't
pulls
admit
out
that. I
the
can't
craziest
admit that.
part. Yeah, the craziest part about it is that he pulls out a cricket bat, and then the other guy goes,
Is
cricket,
it Spinal Tap?
you want to get some crumpet? And they fight, and then he hits the doctor into a garbage can upside down. You remember that part?
No.
No.
We got
Am I thinking of the wrong movie?
I think he might be.
It's a great scene.
Shit. He pulls out.
Was
A
that the scene
golf
where
club?
he was that the scene where he pulls up in the car and he gets out and he goes, "Hey, you son of a," and he grabs the guy and he throws him over the metal rail.
I
and
remember, like,
throws
just
a
before
garbage
that,
can on him.
somebody goes up to Mila
And he
Jovovich and
bites
says,
his
I'm
fist.
sorry, Miss O'Neill. Your mouth brings you trouble.
and then he says, "Whoa!" and then they fight in a park. This is
Yeah, and he's
Yeah,
like, "If you
and
touch my
then-
fucking sister again, I'll kill you."
And then
right?
Mila Jovovich is like, damn!
yeah.
But
And
like
then
it's like a
she
zoomed
goes
back
to the
shot.
roof and she's like, "Where's Splinter?"
Totally
And
what
they
happened.
say, "On the roof." And they're like, "What is he doing up there?" And he says, "Coming." And then it's a giant rat.
And she's like, "I'm already on the roof."
Yeah,
fuck.
and then
This
the
is a different
giant rat
movie.
kicks the man with the hat with this pointy hat into a
The
dump
man
truck
in the yellow hat.
for the
And
second
then
time and says, "I
Curious
made another
George shows up.
funny."
Oh my god.
And then they all go. "Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun." We get a
Okay,
call
so
from
what
Cindy and
actually happened
Scott,
at
the
the
couple they last hypnotized. Scott is freaking out. She finds a bruise or mark or something. They set up the camera. Abby wants to put him under a very light hypnosis this time, which I was like,
Just a
light
little
hypnosis. Just a little
yeah.
hypnosis.
Tiny bit.
I'm not gonna
Uh,
count from 10. I'm only gonna count from 5.
He can't think straight. He's freaking out. We get the flashback to the real footage.
Can you do tree? Can you just do tree?
The camera goes crazy and he starts levitating. There was a good swell here. This was actually kind of a spooky moment. There was a good swell of like nothing to something crazy
I
happening.
will say this moment also in the trailer, which is like what sold me on going to see it, but not the whole full like the mouth thing, like just like
Just popping up,
like him just like getting up, and I was like, whoa, this looks kind of scary. And then when I went to go see it, I was like, oh, this isn't real.
You had to get.
This
to
isn't
that
how
scene.
people move. Their bones
Yeah.
don't move like that.
Well, it actually
Especially had
gave
to
me a
see
star.
the movie before it.
No,
I
it
guess-
was. I will say that it was still kind of frightening even in the context of watching it today. I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, that was good.
That was
like,
pretty good.
If the rest of the movie was good, then this would be genuinely scary. And
Yes.
I was kind of freaked out in the moment, but then as soon as it went away, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I'm watching a terrible
The worst
movie that
piece
sucks.
of shit. And that's
That goes back to your idea though that they shot a trailer really well. They showed it to
Yeah.
somebody
Yes. Yeah.
to get the money, and that was one of the fucking scenes in the trailer.
Since being friends with Steve is the only time that I realized that they like do this, and that's like the cash grab of it all. The new segment that I'm starting.
Look at Deadpool.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
was
they
great. It was a
that's a
trailer.
different because that fucking movie rules. But it did just start as like a test. But there are a lot of movies that we've watched over the last couple of years where it's like this is clearly a moment that they filmed when they were
Everything's in the trailer.
putting the
Fuck.
trailer together, and that's why I don't watch MCU movies because they always fucking give up the goat.
I'm sorry. Did you say you don't watch MCU movies?
I think you meant
trailers. Sorry,
Oh, okay,
that's what I meant to say.
I was like,
And
I feel like
I tried to
especially,
send him.
all you watch.
I sent him a trailer once. Be like, check this out, and you were like, nope.
well, it's changed though. Now I watch MCU trailers because I don't care as
This
much
is also
anymore.
how me and Jason sort of became friends. Is because I was trying to show him a trailer at work once, and he was
Star
like,
Wars.
"I won't watch it." And I was like,
Star Wars,
"Why?" And he's like, "Because it ruins it." And I was like, "You're gonna watch this with me, or I'm
Last
gonna
Jedi, or
not be your friend."
What was the first one of the new ones?
You're not going in blind, motherfucker.
Yeah.
I was like, nah, I'm not watching that. You're like, why? It's different. Gonna be different than the movies. Like, it's showing too much. I will, in my defense, at the time, Batman
The
versus
trailer
Superman
look
trailer came out, and that trailer shows the whole movie. Like it shows every.
Well,
good
in my
beat.
defense is that trailers themselves can elicit emotion in you that is
I know.
way better than the actual movie you go see.
That's
So
why
like
when
you
I
can
to
have
the
this like
movies-
experience that you'll never have if you don't watch it
That's right.
before you see the movie.
But that's why when I go to the movies, I don't like run out of the room when a trailer for a movie I'm going to see comes on. I let it happen to me. That's
also, if you did that, everybody
That's
in the
different.
theater would
everybody be like, "What the fuck?"
He's like,
That guy
"Ah,
leaving.
I have to take a shit." He's like running out like so fast.
I can't watch the trailers. Shut them off. Yelling at the booth.
So we get a funny
Can we
kind of
skip these?
we get a funny kind of moment here where he twists all fucked, and we get a smash cut to her just packing bags. It's like we gotta get the
Right?
fuck
She's
out
getting the
of
fuck out, right? Like she feels guilty that maybe she did kill him.
Well, she broke his neck somehow.
broke
yeah.
his whole
Yeah.
back somehow.
But there were witnesses in the room. This is the part that I don't
That's
get.
the
The cop
part that
shows
I
up,
think
he
is
kicks her
crazy.
fucking door in, he throws shit around. Like,
See, the
And then-
movie's goodwill has already been thrown out the window for me at this point after
Oh.
the
Yeah.
gunshot of everybody shooting each other in the kitchen or
Take
whatever.
the
I'm
shot with the shotgun.
None of this.
Fucking 100
Yeah.
yards away. So dumb.
I was like, okay, this movie is dumb, and like everything that happens now after this moment is dumb, so I don't care anymore, and I can just watch it for it being a dumb piece of shit.
that sheriff was just playing all angles. You better talk him down. Take the shot. You better
Yeah.
talk him down.
Yeah.
Take the shot.
We
It's
brought
like,
you
what is it?
specifically here to make sure that he doesn't kill his family.
And
but
doesn't
also,
get killed.
I got snipers in the kids' treehouse across the street.
I got snipers with shotguns
and they're
Yeah.
itching. They're itching.
They're
Take the
itching.
shot.
to kill a bunch of squirrels. So Abel, the sheriff shows up yelling about the guy having a severed spine, and it's
What
unexplained.
did you do to him?
And
Nobody
Abel-
in this town had a severed spine until you showed up
Your hypnosis.
with your hypnosis and your strange
He's
tales.
like, "You're under arrest," and she's like, "I didn't do anything."
Yeah, folk.
It's like, clearly you did. A man has a severed spine, and another family murder sued. And Abel, who has seen
Another?
some things now, is like, "I'll go. I'll go with you."
Even
He's
though
like,
I can't
okay.
accept it, I can't accept what I've
Yep.
seen.
Classic
I will.
horror skepticism.
But I will accept it.
But
Yeah.
I will accept it.
I've
I will
seen
go
it.
with you.
Yeah.
But we got to keep this house under 24-hour surveillance. And
We need more
that's
cameras.
what happens. And
You touch that doorknob, I will arrest you.
this is where we get a cut
Flip
to
a table.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get a cut to Abigail Tyler in real life, quote unquote, talking about the
Is this where
different.
she explains the kinds?
Yeah, the different kinds.
And she's
first
like,
kind.
one is
Finest
the
kind.
loneliest number that you ever knew.
First kind is seeing a UFO. Second kind is seeing evidence like a crop circle. Third kind is interacting.
Is when you see an alien twerking.
Ding, ding,
Right.
ding, 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 ding.
And-
ding, ding.
You're like, what?
And you make contact and you go,
That's when they said the name of the movie in the movie.
At 1 hour and 7 minutes and 20 seconds, this is when we get the movie title drop. And that's when they said the name of the movie in the movie. And that's when they abduct you. That's when they take you. All of the movies that we did this month have fourth kind. I guess Signs is like implied. It's more third kind. But they talk about on the news that they took people from other places around the world. We witness fourth kind abductions in 3 of the 4 movies. Mars Attacks is Pierce Bronson and Horseface, Sex in the City.
Oh my God.
Whatever her name is.
Jason. She's
Sorry.
a beautiful woman.
She is a
you
beautiful
sick
woman.
fuck.
Did you say
Especially back
horse
then.
face?
Yeah, it's a South Park joke. I'm
I know.
molded by my surroundings.
Jason's sitting here being like, Horseface, the ugliest
Wow.
woman who ever to act in movies.
I had a massive crush on her in Hocus Pocus and stuff. I get it. I just couldn't remember her name in that moment.
What do you mean you get it? She is beautiful.
I said I
She's
get it.
never not been beautiful.
That's true. That's true.
She did do like Sex in the City for 20 years.
That's
But let's
true.
also be clear that there's a reason they put her in Hocus Pocus. She
Also,
looks like a witch.
Before we
A
continue,
hot witch,
a
but she
hot
looks like a
witch.
witch.
Before we continue on, Knowles has some more Knowleisms. Just lighten up the chat. Jared, stay away from wrestling. Friends don't let friends, fam. Is he talking about cuneiform? Cuneiform has a script used to write several ancient languages: Sumerian, Aramaic, and Old Persian, for example.
Rosetta Stone, buddy.
Cuneiform, is that what the Rosetta Storm? That's my superhero name.
Yeah, they couldn't read cuneiform. They didn't know what it was, like this guy's saying.
Bonjour, I am the Rosetta
Stone
Storm.
in
I
Egypt.
know
I
every
think it was in Egypt.
language.
Yeah, and it basically showed an example of all the ancient languages and how to translate them. On a big stone.
Cuneiform was used
That's it,
into
basically.
the Common Era, so this guy is a hack.
Right.
Not you, the X-Files dude.
No,
In
I
my
know who he's talking
defense,
about.
I got nothing.
I agree.
Will Payton, Gone in 60 Seconds, Remember the Titans, Armageddon, or Patton. J. Allen Hybeck's six-fold classification for UFO sightings. Jason, you're a dick. Wait a second.
That's probably when you were calling her a horse face.
She was
you
in
idiot.
Footloose.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Noel. Call me a dick. Tell you that you're right. I'm sorry.
I mean, in your defense and Noel's defense, I called you a dick, and you said I am a dick. So you accepted it before Noel said it, or maybe before Noel, or maybe no.
Maybe he was just agreeing with you.
Yeah.
Jason, yes, you are a dick.
I'm sorry. Sarah Jessica Parker is a beautiful woman, and I love her.
Imagine her name was Sarah Jessica Parkour, and she was really good at jumping off of walls and shit.
Well, that's what I'm imagining now. Okay. Sarah Jessica Parkour. Kickflips in the city. It's all connected.
Sorry.
It's all connected, and it's happening to other people all over the world.
Oh, she's married to Matthew Broderick? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he killed a person with drunk driving.
All right, Jason, again, you're a dick. I'm sure that was dealt with decades ago.
Yeah, but he still did it.
So he didn't do it on purpose.
He was.
I'm sure he feels bad about it.
Kelsey Grammer.
Probably paid a lot of money.
True.
What? Kelsey Grammer? What?
Kelsey Grammer drove directly into a tree, almost killing
You love
himself.
cocaine.
He also fell off a stage one and went, "Oh, good God!" while he was falling.
Good God, Niles.
Hey. Good God. Yeah.
Let's get through the rest of this movie. Are we finally going to see some shit? The police officer sees something. We get a distorted footage and quote unquote real audio.
Her through.
Yeah,
This
see
is
a
the second
circle
time
in the
in the
sky
movie where
for like a second.
where somebody says, "Show me the evidence," and the other person says it's distorted. And then she says, "Show me the evidence," and he says it's distorted. And it's the same. It's the same thing happening where they're both, they're bumping heads for the same exact reason. And I'm like, this movie isn't real because this isn't how anything works.
No.
Like if your child disappeared, you would immediately be arrested. Like if you were like, she got sucked through the ceiling, you'd be like, yeah, take her the fuck in, guys. Like, get her out of here. It's like, I don't give a shit that my guy was outside.
Yeah.
She's saying, and then her son is even like, yeah, I don't know, I didn't see it. I'm
Take me
kinda
away.
scared of my
Take
mom.
me away. Yeah.
Put her in jail. Instead, she goes to her hypnotism pals and gets hypnotized again.
So here's
I have a theory. I have a
here's
theory right now.
What's your
Just
theory?
came up with it.
What's your theory?
I have a theory that the aliens set up the suicide. They did it. They suicided husband to confuse everyone.
Yeah, I thought that the bullet to the head was like a cover up, but they didn't have enough time left in the movie to like elaborate.
To really fully
Again,
explore
dead end.
the alien setup.
Oh, what's in this
bring up-
door?
suicide
Oh,
theory.
nothing. There's a brick wall behind this door.
Bring up the suicide thing like halfway through the movie and then have a payoff. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
Only
Anyway.
about 1 to 2 hours outside of Anchorage, Alaska.
We got 99 minutes. We have to make everybody as confused as possible.
Some people believe that the aliens themselves set up the suicide theory, but no one could be sure.
Noel says not to be a dick,
Next week.
but the Rosetta Stone was Egyptian hieroglyphs, not cuneiform. So you guys can fight in the later times.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
We'll have you.
I
Look,
was
he's
just saying
clearly
that it would be
looking it
funny
up because
for-
his face just illuminated with the fucking.
I thought it would
Google
be funny
Chrome.
for a character of like a superhero to be called the Rosetta Stone, and they just were able to translate any language that came to them from
Pretty
like
good.
only like a couple of different digits or something. But
Sometimes they can't control
I also
it,
still
they
think
just
that would be a
speak
good
multiple
character. Like
languages.
imagine like a rock comes down from space and it's like this weird character, and they just have to like run their hands off it, and they're like, "This is a language, a space language."
A space language.
that
It
we're
says
not
it's from the
familiar with.
Alpha Centauri.
Alpha Centauri.
The aliens
Origin.
are coming. We're fucked.
Also, there's
That's
like
what it says. I'm
100
leaving.
million stars in that system.
So we
Let
get
me
a
just narrow
By
it
getting
down
specific.
for a moment. Yeah.
we get a super high stress moment here. I love chaos in movies. I love a good chaotic, where the sheriff just like bursts in and she's crying and screaming, and the kid's like ah, and the little girl's
this
and he
part
keeps
made me
yelling
hate
like,
everyone
where
in
is
the
she?
movie.
Where's the
He
daughter?
smashes the chair into the
And
fucking...
as he's like interrogating her, which is like, you don't just start interrogating somebody in a
No
situation
goodwill
like
left.
this. Yeah, you have no goodwill left. What did you do with her? Like, there's. So I was going to ask you guys a question that I had is like, assume this is all real, just for the sake of speculation.
It is real, Jason. What do you mean?
Where did the little girl go? And here's what I kept thinking.
She's not real to begin with.
That night, this
She's
crazy
the alien's kid. He took
does
her
like
kid back.
a jump and A Ramsey situation where they just fucking and then throw her in like the basement. But these completely inept like police don't even think to check the basement.
They don't even search the house.
They don't even search the house because we don't see them do that. And also,
But
I think
they did say, "Is there a basement here?" And she said, "What?" And they're like, "Let's get out of here."
They just
Arrested.
threw
Take
out the window
boy and go. And no
Is your
one stayed.
basement smash?
There's just a dead body in a bush of a little girl outside this house. They just didn't even think to check the bushes. Anyway, that's fucking so morbid. My point is,
No, because the cops
Jason,
saw
we
her get
all
pulled
knew
through the
that
roof.
though. Like no one, we all were like, "What the fuck is wrong?" Like this is the point of the movie where we're all like off the ship, right? We're like
I hope
sailing
so.
on another boat, watching the movie just like go towards like an iceberg, but then a bunch of Vikings show up next to us and start shooting flaming arrows at the boat, and we're like, "Oh yeah, let's just watch this thing burn."
this is also the
I
point
mean,
of the movie.
movie
where-
sucks.
It's
ass.
for you to decide, man.
Yeah.
It's for you to decide.
But it's also the part of the movie where I was like, this is so fucking dumb and unreal and probably unreliable witness. And it's Abby is an insane person recounting a story that doesn't make any sense, because the fact that a police officer literally saw a fucking UFO and then
That's why it's
just
stupid.
doesn't tell the sheriff. They have video evidence of at least a second of it, but because it's a little bit blurry, that's the sheriff is like, no, none of this is real. Where's the daughter? Ah!
No, I know you boys
losing
like
his
playing frisbee outside when you're on protection duty. There was a frisbee that just went across the camera. That's what it
Oh my
was.
God.
The
And
shadow
then
of a frisbee.
picks up a fucking rocking chair and throws it through a fucking mirror.
Amazing. So
That's the other thing
intense.
is that he doesn't know how to get
So
people to
intense.
listen to him without threatening horrible violence.
Without
upon them.
assault.
Here's the thing.
Yeah,
Anatomy
None of
of
that was in the script. That's just Will
that
Patton.
was just him. Yeah.
That's just Will Patton.
He's
like,
Elias
listen,
Cotes was like,
I've been waiting
over
my
the
whole
corner, being like,
life
"Oh, I wish I
to
could
be
do
able
this."
to play.
We can't
a
do another
sheriff
take
that can-
because this room is destroyed.
It's like, why did you do that on the first take? I told you to do these lines, and he's like,
Because I
yeah,
know-
but I thought that my character could really smash this window and also this mirror and this dollhouse and all these
Flip
other
the
trinkets.
table.
We only made one each of those, man. You asshole! Like now we have to use those takes.
I
Now
will
your
say-
character is insane.
That's
I will
Elias
say-
Cotes, and he's holding a hockey stick.
Yeah. So Noel says Rosetta Stone was a Marvel character. She mostly was in Fringe Fantastic Four comics.
Oh, cool! I
And
didn't
then
know that.
and then Big Up gave us a big up. You guys are making me want to watch this movie. Congratulations on being funny and entertaining. So you're welcome, Noel. Thank you for coming. I hope you come. Check out Noel on the show the second week of December when we're going to watch Showgirls with them. It's going to
Also,
be
Noel has their own podcast, the Sticks and Stitches podcast.
I mentioned it at the top of the show because Noel
The
actually.
hockey one?
Yeah, Noel got it.
Shoe Girls.
Girls.
Shoe Girls. Ghouls.
We are so close to being done this stupid movie, and then we can do the last couple seggies. I wrote Sheriff, super unprofessional.
Yeah, I mean that's what we just talked about.
Worst sheriff ever. Best part of the movie, but
He even like looks at the ceiling. He's like, "So they just took your daughter through the ceiling, or?" And then she's like, "Yes, through the ceiling." And he's like, "Well, fuck.
We're
this
supposed
is
to believe
insane."
this.
Actually,
Crazy.
Knowles just said ACAB, which I
Flips
agree
another
with
table.
anyway. But this is true. This is true to form for a shitty police officer just going above the law. I used to be a good cop.
He's
But
a rural sheriff.
we also don't know yet that she's also insane, which is
Right.
unfortunate by the end. Where you're like, oh, so he was right the whole time.
He was
And
done with her, and he just fucking lost his mind because he didn't.
He
have
was
any
just
probable
being
cause.
kind.
So that is the only emotional change we see from the sheriff, though.
But it's also the
Yeah.
dumbest. change.
They also
Exactly.
tease.
Okay.
They
yeah,
also
100%.
tease twice in this
He's
movie of
angry the
him
whole
finally
time, and then
believing
he's
her.
like totally calm.
They tease it here that he's finally gonna believe her, and then he's like,
They're gonna kill him.
actually, I hate to do this to you, but you're going to jail forever. And then later, he's like, I hate to do this to you, but your husband didn't get murdered. He got suicide.
There's no
by
more
himself.
goodwill. You're
Yeah.
going to jail.
And then it's like, this is your husband's head with a hole in it, and this is the pistol.
Well, there was a
It's
moment that I thought he was gonna. I thought it was gonna be revealed that the sheriff was like gonna come around, because as he's like, you have, your deputy just said that he saw some stuff. You've got footage, and he's like kind of like looking back and forth, like, what do I do? Like, I'm losing it. But then he just chooses to fucking kind of like Abel does. He just chooses to be like, I'm not
That's not
entertaining
real.
this. Yeah,
That's not real.
Cops-
You're crazy, and you're going to jail. You can't even admit your husband's been killed. Like, even if they'd have revealed that differently without the fucking props of the picture and the gun and shit, if he'd have just told her, and then the other doctor would have backed it up, like, no, it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
He killed himself.
he killed himself.
Like, that would have been a much more impactful scene as opposed to, like, this is your husband's head with a big hole in it.
and
This
the
is
gun that did
pistol
it.
that did it.
Yeah. We
Can you
found
put
your
this
husband.
story together?
and we
Do you know what
found
happened here?
The murderer.
Do you get it? The gun didn't do it by itself? No.
So
Right.
I'm gonna take us home real quick here. They take the son. The son's like, just let me go. What he's like, no. She's like, no, like it's fine. We'll figure this out. He goes,
Well, also
just
like the
let me
end
go.
where it's showing like 10 years later they became the prime minister of
The universe.
Yellowknife.
But they're still estranged from their mother.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like,
Okay.
yeah, he never talked to his mom again. You're
Never. Yeah.
like, what? Okay.
Talks to the
Um,
aliens now.
Yeah.
So then
He took
it
their
cuts.
side.
Then it does that thing that actually I think Fire in the Sky did as well, but better. We cut to like that beginning bit where she's being hypnotized. Then she has like the thing happen to her where her jaw goes all wide and she starts recounting everything.
And
We
she also
actually
gets paralyzed.
she gets
assume.
paralyzed, I guess.
Yeah.
But this is when we actually see the closest to any alien stuff, because we see like the shadows of the aliens coming in. There's like so many. There's like 5 of them, and then we get the shots of like her on a ship. This movie feels like a really shitty remake of Fire in the Sky. Like that's all I could think
And-
of.
Am I right that
don't-
they
I
all
think
get
this is-
abducted in that scene though? And they all have blackouts? Like in that scene when she's doing the whole like and she's speaking in the alien language.
Yeah.
And the alien's saying, I'm God, I made your daughter, she's my daughter, fuck off and look at her back. And then when she's explaining that to the guy after, she says, we were all abducted and none of us can remember. It's
Like
all
every
black.
single human being. Yeah.
Like in that room. No, everyone in that room that night. When she
Oh,
went through her
right,
thing and
right,
had
right,
everyone-
right,
and
yeah.
told everybody what was up. And she said after that, they all got abducted in the room and it got probed or whatever. And then they came back and nobody remembers it. Even under hypnosis, she said.
But this is also like one of those things where you're now left to your devices on the way home to think about it, which is
Yeah.
not necessarily a bad thing in
If it was a good movie.
some movie. Yeah, in
Right.
good movies. But
And I will
it's
say,
not a good
too,
movie, right?
Like the third good thing of this movie, if you want to talk about good, the camera angle of the camera next to her eyes, like on this side of her head looking, I thought was an interesting shot.
And I guarantee you that was not a shot that was in storyboards. That was like an on the day thing.
Like,
where
let's
some
put your
a
head next to this camera.
No, a
and we'll get-
creative director of photography came in and was
DOP,
like,
yeah.
"This will look
Like,
fucking
yeah.
sick if we do this."
Look at this.
And
Noel just said "fire
then
in the
the
sky
same
did
guy
it
was
better" is a hell of a phrase. That's saying a lot.
It's true, because
we could
Fire in
barely
the
get
Sky
an
is
hour and a
also
half
not
out of
that
that
good of
movie.
a
No, it was
movie.
bad. It's a bad movie.
Pretty bad. That's what these alien abduction movies being bad. We need to make an alien abduction movie
That
where
actually
they go
fucking
up in the ship,
chills your
and
spine.
we actually get like a whole like moment in where they're hanging out. They're like,
well, I think that these types of movies affect certain people at certain times in their lives, right? So like I watched this in theater, and I told you at the beginning of this that I was shaking my head on the way out, being like, that was terrible. But then later that night, I was like, I'm kind of scared of aliens, though.
Well,
like, I am kind of freaked out by them. And that's how I feel about Fire in the Sky
aliens
as
are
well.
scary. Aliens are scary.
They are.
So just
It's
real
scarier
quick,
than ghosts, because at least aliens are kind of more realistic feeling.
Yeah,
Just real-
I would believe in aliens more than I believe in ghosts.
Yeah. Well, just real quick at the end of this movie here, I wrote down the devil, because when she's yelling in Sumerian and it's all weird, and he's talking about being bigger than God or better than God, and it's a little exorcisty. I kind of got that
bigger and better than God. It's
God.
me,
Big God
ancient
dick energy there,
Samario.
It's Super Samario Brothers.
Look at the size of that
Yahoo!
God.
Yeah. So when she comes out of it, she's like, she felt hopelessness, and it can't be God, but it can pretend to be the devil, whatever. Interviewer asked about the daughter when we come back to it. And it's kind of cutting back and forth here. It took a couple days for her to wake up in the reenactment, and also I guess in real life. The sheriff, did you notice when he's in the room and he's just fucking vibrating, waiting for her to wake up?
Yeah, he was trying to vibrate the floor hard enough that she would maybe get out of it.
Yeah, I was trying to wake her up without touching her.
And that's when he hits her with, you think he's finally going to reveal that I believe, he's going to say, I believe you. But he's like, I hate to reveal this to you right now.
He also says, the first thing he says is like, I need to apologize.
Yes.
For what I'm about to tell you.
What I'm about to
Not
tell
for all
you.
the
Not
shit
for anything I
did.
did before, yeah. Just for what I'm about to say.
Not for
This
your
picture
living
of a
room.
gun killed your husband.
Because you're all fucked up in the bed here, but I have to make sure that I apologize for what I'm about to say, and I will never apologize for what happened in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's shit I meant, but you.
But
are
then he
crazy.
looks over at her best friend, Dr. Casey Jones,
Yeah.
and he's like, yeah, he's gonna show you some shit that's about to really upset you.
Just fucking blow your mind after what you went through.
By the way,
And
this
it
is real.
does. And then also when after the reveal of the suicide, Abby's like, he would never do that. I'm a psychologist, which is like, shut up. Since Abel experienced it, like, he's still backtracking on it at this point, because she's like, you experienced it. He's like, I don't know if I want to play around with those kinds of thoughts. Sheriff wants to know what happened to the daughter still, and she still insists that she doesn't know. And Abby is insane. Hallucinated everything despite evidence was kind of my final note here. And that's when it just cuts to like Mila Jovovich is being like, the things that you saw here tonight are true. And it felt like Truth or Fiction with Riker. You know that show
Factor
from the
Fiction?
90s? Factor Fiction, yeah.
He's like, have you ever ridden a bike?
Have you ever danced
You know
with
what
the
it's
devil
like
in
to
the
send
pale moonlight?
mail and it never arrives.
Have you ever
to your
taken a
destination?
French lesson before?
Has
Have you ever
anyone
been
have you
to the
ever looked at
beach
somebody
at
and you thought,
nighttime?
that could be my brother?
Have
You
you ever
watched
eaten
Gladiator
a
movies?
sandwich? I ever seen a
Have you ever
grown
gone
man
up to a
naked?
hotel room and thought, I better not go in there?
Yeah.
Have you ever gone up to a hotel room and saw Do Not Disturb and thought, I should go in there?
Did you ride the bike through the door?
So that's basically the movie, and then the credits roll, and during the credits, after she comes on, is like, everything you saw here, so don't believe everything you see, or fuck, I don't care. And then we get a bunch of like, over the credits, a bunch of like 911 reports of aliens, and that was actually interesting, and I listened to all of them.
But before those reports, we got the fucking book.
Oh
of
yeah,
the history of everyone.
Yeah.
Like we got like the old restaurant closed in town, but a new cafe opened up to replace it. Old Bill, the town drunk, still rants at the sky.
But they call it the
now it's
Hollow Owl Cafe.
and now it's in Sumerian.
Yeah.
They actually added a G to the name of the town, Nome, to talk about how stunted everybody's views of aliens are.
I had the same note of exactly what you said. I said, what a stupid fucking end. The husband killed himself. She's insane. None of this lends any support to the found footage aspect at all. So like that whole sequence in the hospital just like tears up all that found footage. It just throws it.
That's why I said, like, right from the get-go, like,
yeah,
you
it's
don't
exactly
even
that's what I'm
need
saying.
Mila Jovovich coming on and be like, I play an actor who plays a role in this that's a found
Hello,
footage.
my name is Mila
therapist.
Jovovich, and I'm
Jehovah Witch.
Jehovah Witch.
I'm ready to be done talking about this particular film. However, before we get out of here, we have a couple segments we gotta get through.
Punch it.
The first segment.
Also, I think it is Jehovah Witch, by the way. Jehovah Witch, I think, is actually her name.
Mila Jovovich?
I think.
Jehovah
Witch. Jehovah Witch. I think it's
Jehovah
Jehovah Witch. Jehovah Witch. I know there's
Jehovah
two
Witch.
V's.
Jehovah
Witch.
Witch.
I think Jehovah Witch. Is it Jovovich or Jehovah Witch?
I thought it was Jehovah
Jehovah Witch.
I think
Jehovah
it's pronounced
Witch.
with a W, but I'm just saying.
If you're from an Eastern Bloc country.
Oh, I have a question for you guys that I
She
could
also
easily look up.
pronounces it in her own
Jehovah
mouth
Witch.
at the beginning of this movie.
Jehovah
We can
Witch.
just watch it and
It's
find
Jehovah
out.
Witch.
Jehovah Witch.
Does she have an accent in real life? I can't remember.
No.
No. Okay.
You assume she would, but I don't think so.
No, she doesn't.
She Dutch.
I think she's Russian.
I think she's Eastern European.
She's Russian to end this episode. I'm telling you that
Yeah,
much.
That's what I'm trying to do.
If you had to pick one,
what do you think
but
the Home
when
Alone of it
is
all?
the Home Alone of it all?
Can someone please tell me when the Home Alone of
I
it
really
all
gotta
happens?
know.
When is the Home Alone of it all?
What is the Home Alone of it all?
Now that's the Home Alone of it all.
She's Ukrainian.
She's Ukrainian. Okay, so Jared, if you don't know, or if the viewers don't know, the Home Alone of it all is my theory that in the movie Home Alone, the best part of the movie, or the Home Alone of it all in that movie, is when Kevin McAllister slaps down the blueprints and begins to build the nightmare Saw movie-like traps for the Wet Bandits. When I was a kid,
And as we all know, the Saw movies are a continuation of the Home Alone movies, but
and
they take
I
place
loved
in the future.
I loved just that. So it led me to, over the years, be like, every movie sort of has a Home Alone element. The part that you went to the movie to see. What's your Home Alone of it all for the fourth kind? Personally, I think that my Home Alone of it all is just when she's going to the different people and hypnotizing them in the like middle part of the movie. It's the hypnotism element is like the movie.
Also,
of
I
it.
should add that this is probably the least Home Alone of it all
Yeah.
movie that we've ever done on the show. So
Yeah.
if you find it
That's like a
hard,
second act turn,
I know.
basically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
I would-
like the
I would
third
say-
act. A lot of times is the Home Alone of it all too. Like kind of like Home Alone is like that's the third.
That's
act,
where you get
but-
your. That's where you
There
get
can be
your
a Home Alone of it all
climax.
It's
in,
true.
at any moment in the movie, and this one feels like it maybe just doesn't have one. But like
Well, I would say the
I
second act
forced
turn-
myself to figure one out. Yeah.
the one that I would say is the moment she hears herself scream on the tape, and then
Hmm.
she goes into like the 4 split screen reenactment mode.
Okay, that's pretty
Right,
good.
where she's like, remember, she's sitting on the bed and she's rocking back and forth, and then this one is showing like the alien coming in at night, and then this one is showing like her in real life. Like I think that was it, because that's when she went into like, gotta figure this out. I gotta know what's going on. Right?
That's probably better than my answer.
Well, what's your answer?
What's your answer?
Oh, when the guy shoots his wife in the fucking forehead. And I'm like, oh, this movie is bad. This is a
I
bad
would
movie.
call that the point of no return.
I was
That's
like,
a good
this is
point.
That's when
bad.
we're on the road.
As
I
soon as he
changed-
shoots his wife in the head, I was like, this is a bad movie. And
Yeah.
now I know that I'm not watching a movie anywhere. I'm just
It's a
watching a
reverse-
bunch of shit happen.
This is our first reverse Home Alone of it all, because the reveal of it being a bad movie after about 40 minutes in, up until then, when you're still trying to like connect dots and figure it out, that
Make it work?
Yeah, the first part,
Work.
the first act and a half is the Home Alone, because it just. Anyway, we have
Well, it's
one-
trying to shove in so many things.
so many things. we have one final thing we're going to do before our final thoughts, and that is...
The MPAA, everyone. The MPAA. Wow.
Forgot about this. Wow.
It's time to play Guess the MPAA.
Okay, so right quick, every single film in the history of film that's rated PG-13 and up or down has an MPAA certificate rating, okay? It's 5 digits long. It's on every movie. You have to wait till the end to see it. It's got that little globe on it. What I thought would be interesting is why don't I make the guest and Steve try to guess in 2 guesses what the MPAA certificate number is. What we have figured out over the last couple weeks is I'm going to give you the first 2 numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's anyway. The first 2 numbers this week are 44. I'm going to tell you higher or lower. You have 2 guesses. Jared, you're first. 4, and then 3 digits.
396.
Higher. Steve?
396. Okay. 888.
Lower. Jared.
669.
Steve, higher.
His eyebrows shot up. We're in the ballpark.
717.
Wait, hold on. You said 669?
Yeah.
Sorry, did I say lower? It's lower.
Yeah.
My bad.
It's lower. You said higher. It's lower?
I meant to say lower. I got confused.
Okay. 4 8 4.
We're going to do a bonus round because it's only been like a minute. Jared, one last guess. It's higher than, what do you say, 468? It's higher than 468.
414.
Okay, I'm going to do like a Price is Right. I'm going to go 667.
Steve, final guess, lower.
Oh, jeez. 5 8 5.
No, it's 661.
What? Oh,
It was so close to
Jared,
6. You should have said closer.
Jared, I think I might incorporate a closer element. Jared, that's the closest anybody's gotten. The first time we did it, you had to guess.
I said 669.
Oh, I thought he said 661 and 669. Okay, well, that's the game.
Sorry, I wrote it down and I thought I said it. I was like, I said this. I wrote it on paper. What do you mean?
It's a stupid game.
The MPAA, everyone. The MPAA. Wow.
It's a work in progress. With that, I think I've covered everything. We got the synopsis, the MPAA, the home loan of it all. We're on to the final thoughts. Oh, just puked.
You all right? Did you throw up in your mouth?
He threw up in his pants.
It's time for our final thoughts.
Welcome to the final thoughts segment of the show. This is where we give our final thoughts on the movie and also a rating. I do a rating out of 5. Steve does a rating out of nonsense. Jared, like I said at the top of the show, I've made it a tradition to let the guests go first. So give us your final thoughts. And if you want to give this movie a rating, either a number rating out of 10 stars out of 5, or just some nonsense that you want to do for the lulls.
Stars are, like I said, stars are reserved for good films. This is on the poopy scale.
That's the poopy scale.
It goes reverse of stars. The higher the poopy scale rating at a 5, the worse the movie. This is a 5 on the poopy scale. This is a full stinker. That's what this. It's nasty. My final thoughts would be to go watch No One Will Save You. And it's basically the same subject matter, but it doesn't have all of the ancient alien shit. You get to see the aliens. It's unsettling and a little bit terrifying, and it was much better.
That's your final thought?
Yeah.
Steve, your final thoughts, please.
This movie is bad. I remember liking it once in theater, and then watching it again made me remember the time that I was walking out of the theater after I watched it once and didn't like it, and was looking around at my friends being like, this was all terrible. Like, this is a horrible movie, right? And I don't think that they agreed with me, and I was like, I'm pretty sure it's bad. But I wasn't just pretty sure. I was very, very sure. But I forgot about that until this week when I decided to watch it again for this show. And I don't know how they could make it better unless they really just sold into one or the other. I don't think that the two movies worked. I think it could work somewhere else, but it didn't work here. I don't really think I have anything all that positive to say about this movie, but I don't really have anything all that negative to say about it that we didn't already just fucking steamroll it with for the last fucking 2.5 hours. We kind of, I mean, I could try, but gee whiz, we kind of gave this movie the gears. I'm glad the director didn't get like blacklisted for all time, because he's still working, and he's working in our neighborhood. Like, you know, he's working on stuff that people still like, and I think that this was probably some sort of kind of like passionate project. I don't know if it was a passion project where he's like, I'm obsessed with this thing. I think it was more like he had a bit of passion with it, was like, oh fuck, what am I doing? I guess I'll be in it. And he was, and we were all confused by that part, but I don't know what to give it. I would give it maybe like a 5th or 6th kind, if those were worse than 4th and 3rd kinds, I guess. I don't know. I'd say 6th kind. If there was a scale, and like once you get to 5, it's like the best, and then it starts to go down as you get to 10, maybe 7th kind. I don't know.
Noel has a question. On the scale of, is it better than The Room? Is it better than The Room?
No, I would rather watch The Room again.
I'd rather watch The Room. Yeah, I'd rather.
I hated The Room, but The Room is at least hilarious at points.
But The Room is so funny.
Bad,
to watch.
it's good. That's It's one of
this
those
is not.
movies.
This is like not ever unintentionally hilarious.
No.
This is one of those
If
movies.
this had been directed by Tommy Wiseau, though, then I would understand.
You know, Tommy Wiseau would have been in it. He would have been the sheriff, and he'd be like, I don't understand why.
Where's your daughter? Flip a table.
Oh, hi, Charlie. We're going to take you away from your mother now.
All right, my final thought is the longest final thought I've ever written, so I'll have to I'm gonna bring you guys over here. I'm gonna have to read this whole shit.
Everybody step back.
I don't think I have anything good to say except Mila Jovovich was interesting as a non-sci-fi character. Ironically, she wasn't a good fit for this role because she's too attractive for it, and also isn't the best actor to at least detract from that. Yeah, I don't buy her performance.
What do you mean? Yeah. What does that mean?
I think the problem with this movie lies in the pacing and the lack of payoff. It was entertaining and has a couple spooky moments. I take back that it was entertaining, actually. But it didn't really move the needle for me. I found the side-by-side real and reenactment moments to feel a little hokey and had that early 2000s cheese feeling. There's a lot of that, like, you know, the way that things were in the early 2000s in this, like just trying stuff. They even do that shot where two people are talking and the camera like is circling around them that they used to do in fucking everything.
When I was a kid, I had a group of friends that if anybody had a cheese feeling, we had to stop touching each other for a little bit.
I get what they were going for, but it didn't really affect me. Maybe if I had watched it in 2009 at the age I was at the time, it would have gotten me. I was pretty open-minded to conspiracies then, but now it fell directly onto its nose. Oh. I actually think Fire in the Sky is a better version of this kind of story. I still can't really make heads or tails if this one is meant to be based on a true story. We kind of covered that. It's not. It's based on a true place that exists. The bits with the actors at the start and end give fact or fiction vibes with Riker, and it feels largely like a TV movie or a sci-fi channel movie. The best part was the overacting of the sheriff in a so bad it's good kind of way. Like the reenactment was played that way in a weird meta. This is a TV show about the abduction. I touched on that a little bit at the start, and I felt like the director was almost making the reenactment feel like over the top to sort of offset the feeling of the found footage element of it. We kind of passed the point of discussion, so that's what it was. The director seems to be going for something different and wants that M. Night Shyamalan edge, but he just doesn't have the skill. 2.2 out of 5. I give this a side-by-side real and reenactment depiction of a turd.
My God.
You gave that a 2.2 out of 5.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
Get a 5. Yeah.
Oh, I thought we were gonna end it there. Okay, so we all give it we're just the three of us staring at a pile of shit right now.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
basically.
wow.
Shit salad, bud. Shit sandwich.
Shit
We all
sandwich
ate
versus
it.
a giant douche.
We all had a big old bite.
But also to the director of this movie, you had an admirable vision, and you did it as best as you could for what
That's
you had.
very true.
And I think that it is an interesting
true.
idea, and I wish that it worked out better because it is kind of an interesting idea.
If
It
you
is.
broke
I
it up,
think
you could have
that's-
almost made 3 movies. You know,
Yeah.
2 or at least 2. Do the ancient alien thing, and then do the found footage / doctor thing.
It's like he was like, I have 10 ideas and I want to
Just-
slam them into
just
one.
tried to
Well,
get
it's
them
like
all
how
in
they
the
made
same
the Blair Witch
trying to
Project
fit.
as the found footage thing, and then they made a sequel that's just a movie.
Yeah.
I don't think
then they
that's
added,
exactly
like,
how it's like because this
we're
is just a
bringing in
movie
aliens.
and that's 2 movies that are part of the
No,
same
I'm
fiction
agreeing.
franchise.
I'm agreeing with what Jared's saying in making
Oh, I
multiple
see.
movies out of the same sort of universe.
Yeah.
With that, before we get out of here, Jared, is there anything you want to promote or plug?
I have all kinds of things.
Oh, well, give us one at
Give
least.
us
Here's
one
one.
thing.
I have a band, Nonstop Action.
There you
Go
go.
listen to it on Spotify. It's fun stuff. It's all about comic books and video games and movies and TV shows, and it's rock and roll.
And rarely, I used to be in it. So
Oh yeah, that's
Oh.
right.
remember that?
I totally forgot. No.
Yeah, helped write most of those songs. That's not true. I played the bass on several of them, but none of it's
You
recorded.
wrote the bass lines.
I wrote the bass lines the way that they go for a bunch of them. It was a fun time in my life, and I wish I could go back to that. I miss Halifax, and I love you, Jared. Thank you for being on the show tonight.
Thank you for having me. It's fantastic.
And as always, Jared, can you ask the question that we ask everybody on the internet each and every week? It's the name of the show. It's the name of the show. It's the name of the show.
Hey.
It's
Hey, did you see this one? I was playing with you.
I was playing around.
What show am I on? What is this?
Great. All right, I gotta go to bed. I'm gonna sleep. The sleep of 1,000 princes. So I will see you guys.
And Jay McInnis signed off that night, thinking that he would sign on tomorrow. But little did he know that there was something watching him.